Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to my friends. Good morning, Scott. I see you there. I hope you're doing well. And I hope you're having a good week. Scott, it's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. How are you, darling? How are you, darling? Good morning. Mr. Spock is here. He's gonna tell me all about it. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. It's time to wake up now. I'm very loud. Good morning. Welcome back. Day 2. We made it back. The computer still works. Oh my God. J Rance, my bestie. Bestie. Hope you have a resty. And a special good day to Lolo. Hi, Neil. How are you? Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh my God, that's my first sip of coffee. Wow, that's really good. I'm not shitting you. That's really good. How are you? Oh my God, I have a surprise for you and I didn't even tell you. Because I still have that old computer, right, that I was using, but that couldn't stream. It's too old to stream. Good morning, Oomph. Anyway, I made a surprise for you. Hold on. I got to move. I don't know where I'm going to move to. This is like a very tight spot that I put myself into. Hold on. I just want to move this way. Which way should I move? Oh man, you just can't even see it. I need a different setup. Oh, I'm in the way now. Okay, let me go this way. Look, I have the old computer set up as a fireplace. And I have a Yule log playing. Neil, you're fine. You finished making your last batch of truffles chocolate for breakfast. Fuck yeah! I would like to eat truffles. Not like I'm not really a mushroom truffle person, if that makes sense. A fungus truffle person. It's just too strong for me. It tastes like dirt, which, I think is fine, and I can appreciate that it's like a super... I know, isn't it cozy? I'm going to try and, so you can see it. Okay. Oh, this is good. I can just lean back. If I lean back, it'll help. Anyways. Yeah, I thought that... I don't know. I thought it would be fun. It makes me happy. It makes it very cozy in this room. I will tell you that. It's not even real fire, but it really makes it cozy. Hi, Teresa. How are you? There's not a fire in the back of my room. It's just the old computer. Oh, sweet dessert truffles? Hell yeah. I'm all over those. I'll pop those like they're Ambien. Popping chocolate like it's Ambien. Popping chocolate like it's Ambien. Well, good morning. Welcome to day 2. No, welcome to Tuesday. Welcome to Tuesday of a holiday week. I hope your holiday week is going well. I hope if you travel, you're safe and that it's not problematic. I wish you ease and safe travels, or I wish you a delicious season at home where you're not going anywhere. So there's that too. That would be nice. But yeah, so Wake and Bake 2.0, that's right, 2.002. Volume 2. Chapter 2. No. I do think that our system, I'm going to not say it very loudly. I'm going to whisper it. I think it's working. I don't really know. We'll find out, I guess, when I try to play something. But I think it's working now. It's just about me. This is more about me at this point in terms of understanding how connections happen between computers and streaming platforms and shit like that. So anyway, let's see. I don't even remember what happened yesterday. So it's really hard to even, kind of wrap up yesterday because I'm like, what even happened? I mean, a bunch of stuff happened. I think uh, there's a lot. Didn't Russia remove their diplomats? Is that true? Did they remove their diplomats from Venezuela? Wait, did they put it? Oh, you put it in Signal? Oh, shit. I haven't seen that. See, I'm a little behind. You guys are so much more on top of this show. Maybe you should host this show. Did we ever think of that? Did we ever think the more prepared people should be hosting a show? You think? Let me go to Signal. I don't have Signal on this computer yet, so. At least, okay, wait. I'm behind. Let's see. Where's this? Is it the? Oh, it's that. The Justice Department, U.S. Department of Justice, or? Oh shit! You guys are so like I'm almost intimidated by Signal. And then, oh my God, is that your baby, Tina? Oh my God, I love that baby. Okay, let me see if I can. So it's under the US. Oh, it's under the Twitter account. Okay, hold on. Hold on, please. Listen now. We are now processing. Hold, please. Oh, please. It's okay. It's just with the new computer, I did borrow another monitor from a friend because that thing, it's a Mac, and I couldn't hook it up as an external monitor. Does that make sense? It just was malfunctioning. It might be because this Mac is very, very old, and it could be because of that. So, yeah, I was able to get a monitor that works with my silly system. Okay, let me do this. What? I'm not even signed into X? Oh my God, this computer was so frustrating. You're so frustrating. I don't even know. Is that my account? Oh my God, I don't even know. I don't know what my username is. I don't know. Everything is terrible. Okay, so it's a DOJ 30,000. Is that what it is? I'm looking for the release is what I'm looking for. Oh, here we go. As a commitment to law and transparency. Give me a fucking break. I'm so done with these bitches. Okay, here we go. This is CNBC. Hold on. Oops, that's why you're not doing it in the right place. I was in the wrong place, but I was in the right time. I was in the wrong place, but it must have been the right time. That is not what I want. Bitch ass. Bitches. Bitches. Okay, that's what I want. Transparent lawns just look like sparkly dirt. Oh. Nevertheless, and the DOJ post is so crazy. Nevertheless. Oh, shit. Well, now I want to... I wish I was signed in to my X account. Okay, well, there's something I got to do today. I got to sign into all my social accounts here. Okay, well, let me go ahead and read to you. See, now you can look at, oh, well, you can't see it on this, but when I play a video, you can play it full screen so everybody can see it. Okay. All right. I would like sparkly dirt. I think sparkly dirt would be great. Epstein files. Latest batch from DOJ includes court records, flight logs, and heavily redacted documents. The DOJ on Tuesday released another batch of files related to the deceased sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The release comes amid intense scrutiny from congressional lawmakers and victims over the DOJ's handling of the files. You know, at the end of the day, something we don't do in this country, and I think we should do more of, is just call a thing a thing. And that's what I think part of this suffers from, is that we don't just call a thing a thing. We just don't. And I think that's part of our problem, is that we just don't call it what it is. That's kind of silly. Okay, a law that advanced out of Congress was signed by President Dumpy Dump in November. Said it had to be done by last Friday. Fuckers. Burn in hell, both of you fuckers. The Department of Justice on Tuesday. Oh my God, it's so tiny. It's so tiny. So tiny. Released another batch of files related to deceased sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The latest documents appear to contain court records, emails, and some heavily or completely redacted files. In a Tuesday morning post to X, the DOJ announced the latest drop and claimed to have released nearly 30,000 more pages of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. The post also refers to claims made against President Dump in the latest release. Show me the fucking thing. Okay, here we go. It's going to let me do it without signing in. The Department of Justice has officially released nearly baby voice.
Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody from the Justice Department. I'm here. I'm here. You can't see me, but I'm here. Okay, here we go. Strap in. Because Pam wrote this. She said, let me write it. And they said, all right. The Department of Justice has officially released nearly 30,000 more pages of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. Some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against President Dump. I hope they have those walls you can wipe down. What is that? What is it you paint? What is it you paint your bathroom with? Like gloss paint? I hope they painted the ballroom in gloss so that the ketchup comes off easier. Okay. Alright, sorry. I'm sorry. Some of these documents contain untrue. Wait, I'm very sad because I have to type this. And if I have to type this, my boss is going to be really mad at me. So I have to figure out a way to say it that's not so bad. Because he's going to be so mad at me. He had his pee-pee out. Everybody, there were pictures of him with his pee-pee out. I can't tell you. I'm very upset about it. Okay, here we go. I'll pull myself together. Okay, anyway. Some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against President Dump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait. Oh, this is packed. This is packed with shit. So you're telling me that the FBI, your FBI, Chris Ray, you had them before the 2020 election, and Chris Ray sat on it. Is that what I'm to understand? Oh my God. To be clear, the claims are unfounded. Don't believe your lying eyes. Were submitted to the FBI, blah, blah, blah. The claims are unfounded and false. We know because we didn't investigate them, but they're false. We asked him. And he said, nuh-uh, I did not. Nuh-uh, I didn't do it. Nuh-uh, I didn't do it. Nuh-uh. To be clear. Oh, yeah. And if they had a shred of credibility, this is their... Okay, wait.
Okay, I just want to point out, this is the MAGA logic right here in one sentence. This is the logic they apply to everything. It's called circumstantial evidence. And wouldn't they do what we do since we're such shitty people, right? No, not necessarily. So, they certainly would have been weaponized against President Trump already. Nevertheless, out of our commitment to the law and transparency, the DOJ is releasing these documents with the legally required protections of for Epstein's victims, of course, not for any of our people. No. Data set 8 files. I am not a robot. I am not a robot. I am not a robot. Oh, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. No, I'm just kidding. USV Maxwell. Okay, well, I can't go down this rabbit hole right now, but this is a rabbit hole that deserves to be gone down, so I'll probably be spending some time on it today. But no, I had missed that. Oh boy. Okay, so this is what this language means to me. This language means that they did hold back this Section 8 or whatever, for whatever reason, whatever it has in it. But this middle paragraph right here, this little paragraph right here, this is bullshit. Oh, thanks, Toop. How are you, Tupelo? It's so good to see you. Happy Christmas to you and yours as well. Aw. I mean, seriously, like this means to me that they know they're not false. And that, I mean, I can understand well, no, I can't. I'm sorry. Hi, Robert. If you are a fucking Department of Justice, first of all, you are not the president's lawyers. I understand that's what he thinks. And actually, in one case, Turd Blanche is his former lawyer. So I guess the assistant attorney general, who's really doing the lion's share of work over there, let's be honest, is a former Trump lawyer. So in essence, maybe they are his lawyers. I don't know. But anyway, this to me says I'm sure they took the worst of the worst out of it. First of all, come on, Todd Blanche, give me a fucking break. Give me a fucking break. His entire job has been trying to keep this man out of prison. And he's done a pretty shitty job of it because if you recall, I think wasn't Todd his main lawyer on the New York fraud cases? Am I mistaken about that? Or was he his lawyer on all of the stuff, the rape claims, etc.? They're trying to, I think this is near the end because really there's going to be a picture of him doing something inappropriate. And I'm confident we're not seeing any of that data come through, which I don't want to see it, by the way, number one. But at the end of the day, if this man raped children, he should go to prison. Okay? That's the bottom line. Even fucking Bill Clinton, who was all over the first release, said, release it all. Release it all. And, that's kind of where we are. Yeah, now they're the Department of Defense. That's right. They just had the wrong department. Wow, that's really fascinating. I'm fascinated by, and we used to say that about Reagan too. We used to say, or was it him? I guess it was. He was like the Teflon president, nothing could stick to him kind of stuff. That's very much what this feels like, is that even the craziest stuff, right, won't stick to this guy. He will not be berated. Now, I think he'll lose a significant part of the base. The bottom line is the more information that comes out about him doing untoward things and illegal fucking rapes, the more that type of information comes out, the more that they've kind of like, do something with it. They've got to do something. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm sure it's not going to be pleasant. That I can guarantee you. Yeah. Right. Oh, wow. Wow. I want to see if we can play some of the Marco presser from the weekend or last week. Because again, I still feel like the things he was saying, where he was positioning himself to kind of be in a political, power pole position, whether that's like JD's vice president. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think the tech bros have given up on JD Vance, so I'm not going to take him for granted until I absolutely see him destroyed. But at this point, he's still the darling of the donors, as far as I can tell. So I don't think he's going anywhere. But there it is. I don't know. Why can't autocracies last 6 months? Yes. Okay. Let me find my little Marco. My little narco. You've got to read Tina's stuff on Marco Rubio, because she has done a lot of work over the years on Marco's narcotics connections and other things that he's been involved with. So I need to kind of bone up on her work about Marco, because Marco really stepped forward for me this weekend when he did this presser, and that was, I don't know. It made me notice. It made me notice. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Don't say anything, because I'm gonna take you over here. Yeah. Whoops. Okay. Marco. Hey, Marco. Look at it. We got a full screen. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. I'll do anything for you guys. Okay. Again, I haven't watched all of this, so I may stop at different points and just comment on what he says. But I caught the last part of the presser, and I thought those questions were pretty good. So let's see what little Marco, God willing, this works. Hold on. Let me just make sure I'm doing my thing. Oh, it's picking up on my fucking microphone again. God damn it. Damn it. Okay, I'm going to try that. Whoops. Actually, let me try this. Okay, why is that not working? This just worked. Don't fuck with me. Oh, yeah, Honduras. That's right. Okay, let's try this, and then we're going to figure it out.
Well, thank you guys for coming today to cover
Oh,
us.
I know what it is. I
And I
can't
wanted
hear
to start.
him.
I'm going to be very brief because I just want to get to as many questions as I can. I can do English. I'll answer Spanish if you ask Spanish, and then I'll answer it in English after I answer it in Spanish. So any other languages, I'll be able to do it. But those two, and then look. When I took over Secretary of State, I'll refer you back to the hearings we had in the Senate in January about the role I
Okay, can I be honest with you? It literally, I tested this right before the show. Hi, Paul J. How are you? For another show that ended early today, might get a few lookers. Yay! Well, I hope I can come through, because right now my thing is no. What? A politician speaking in 2 languages? Who does that? No, he's really good. I mean, his Spanish, of course, is wonderful, and I'm delighted. I love hearing him speak Spanish. I think it's great. I think more politicians should be at least bilingual. That would be perfect. Okay. And I think in future they were going to have to be, and that's the way it should be. Now, why won't this play in my ear? I don't know why. Why? I don't even know what the default is, bitch. I don't even know what the default is, bitch. I can't hear him. You guys, well, you can't hear him either, actually. You can't hear him.
Changed many of the
That's so
institutions,
weird.
policies, assumptions.
This thing is like, I wonder if it's like, is it so
were built
delicate
upon
that
a
it
world
just
no longer
doesn't,
existed.
like, I don't get
And
it.
it required us to re-examine.
I need an outfit on Rubio. Oh, I should get an elf on a shelf. I'm so mad about this. It's me. I know this is me. I know this is me. I know this is me. I know. Yeah, they do. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. You can't even hear him. Fuck. Maybe it's Marco Rubio that's fucking with my... That's live TV for you. Oh, it definitely is. It's my live. Let's see. It worked this morning. What was it? What was it? Okay.
National
Let me
interest
just
of the
keep
United
playing him and
States.
see if I can get
Now,
him.
that doesn't
Come
mean
back,
that there aren't issues
Marco.
and things we care
Come
about
back,
in the world,
little
but at
Marco.
its core, the core principle of the
Oh,
national
okay. He is
interest,
playing. All right.
the core principle behind our foreign policy needs to be our national interests. So you have to, first of all, define what is the national interest, and then you have to apply it.
promise.
We defined it as we are in favor of all three, but at least one of those three. And then it requires you to prioritize. Even the richest, most powerful and influential country on earth has limited resources, has limited time. And it has to
My
be
gosh,
able to
you
dedicate
guys,
those
I'm
resources
so
and
mad.
time through,
I wonder-
through a process of prioritization. That includes geographic prioritization. It also includes issue prioritization. And that's what we intend to do here. Then you have to have the mechanisms of foreign policy to deliver on it. In
No, I
essence,
can hear it.
you have to have a Department of State and a National Security Council and all the elements of U.S. foreign policy influence and power to deliver, to identify and then deliver on those priorities. And that's what we've attempted to do here, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. There's more work to be done. There's things we will improve upon. But generally speaking, it was the genesis behind the reorganization of the department, oftentimes applying reforms that secretaries of states of both parties, appointed by presidents of both parties, have long sought to do. And we're very proud of that going into effect and continuing to work forward. I think we generally avoided, massive disruptions to our operation, although any transition involves some disruption. But we're very happy with the way we empowered our regional bureaus, meaning our embassies and the folks at the desks here behind the regions have become more empowered and having influence over every element of our foreign policy, particularly how it's applied tactically. At the same time, one of the things we looked at is foreign aid. Foreign aid is not a separate activity of the United States government. It is an element and a tool of our foreign policy, and it should be used for the purpose of furthering the national interest. That doesn't mean we don't care about human rights. That doesn't mean we don't care about starvation. That doesn't mean we don't care about hunger. That doesn't mean we don't care about humanitarian need. What it does mean, however, is that even foreign aid, which is not charity, it is an act of the U.S. taxpayer. Now, American charities are free to give their money to whoever they want, as long as it's not a sanctioned entity. But the United States and the taxpayer money should be spent in furtherance of our foreign policy, should be spent in places and on things that further our foreign policy. And even that is not unlimited. We have a limited amount of money that we can dedicate to foreign aid and humanitarian assistance, and that has to be applied in a way that furthers our national interests. And that's what we have sought to do as well. And in that endeavor as well, we have empowered the regional bureaus and our embassies to play a dramatic role. In fact, they are not just the implementers of this. They, in many cases, are the ones that are suggesting and are leading the response. And so bringing the tools of foreign aid underneath the umbrella of our broader foreign policy has been an important and dramatic reform. Even in the midst of all that, we remain engaged around the world, including in conflicts that perhaps are not central to everyday life in America, but the president has made it a priority to be a peacemaker. And so you've seen us engaged, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, or India and Pakistan, or Thailand and Cambodia, which is an ongoing challenge, or the tragedy we see now in Sudan, or the potential for further strife in South Sudan and that falling apart. I mean, no matter Armenia and Azerbaijan, we are always looking for opportunities, if possible, to play the role of a mediator that brings about the avoidance of war or the ending of conflicts. And obviously, in many of these cases, you can get people to the table and agree, and then there's the implementation process. And so we've made progress in many of these, particularly in getting them to agree to certain conditions. Obviously, it's ongoing work to make sure that those are implemented and applied. And some of these, conflicts have deep roots that go back many, many years. But we are prepared to be engaged and helpful in ways that perhaps other nations can't. We've been viewed as indispensable in that regard, and it's a role the president takes great pride in the promotion of peace around the world, and something he deserves a lot of credit for. He is personally engaged in all of this.
All right, I'm going to stop little Marco for a minute there. And I'm not sure, are you guys hearing an echo? You might be hearing an echo. I apologize if that's the case. I'll try and, actually, maybe I can do that. Okay. So Marco here is talking about aid, and as we know, he cut off all USAID. Well, I'm going to read you a story, just one story about what's happening in the Congo around rape survivors and USAID cuts, because the USAID cuts had a significant impact on the rest of the world. And so this government, this administration can claim all that they want, all that they want, that this is about, more responsible whatever. I don't know. He's not calling it aid, so I don't know what they're going to call it. But this also is all tied into everything that we've talked about, which is this administration is desiring to control as much of the world's resources as possible, which is why we're in South America trying to get the coltan and the whatever that other thing, tantalum, and all the other minerals that we need in order to power industry. Frankly, this is for the industries, because they need such immense amounts of resources, water, minerals, etc., power, right? And one thing we're starting to hear about, just on that vein, is that these power plants that are being built, such as the Grok plant down in outside of Memphis, are causing significant environmental impacts to people. They are making people sick, whether it's the noise, whether it's the emissions, whether, whatever it is. And fun fact, I've been reading a couple of articles, which I want to read about to you, about the fact that the investment that these companies are making in these large data farms, right, which are happening, they're being built all around the country, are raising your energy prices, our energy prices. Okay? So that's why if you feel any inkling to simp for this administration, or to make excuses, or to mansplain what this administration is attempting to do, you're wrong. Because nothing they're doing is about your happiness. This is the culmination of their ability to create a world with impunity. Like, they can act with impunity. They can, they don't have to pay excessive taxes, if at all. They don't have to pay attention. All the regulatory boundaries will be pulled down. Those regulatory boundaries were there for a fucking reason. I'm old enough to remember, like, 3 Mile Island and, the PG&E mess out here, right? Aaron Brockovich, that whole thing. That's why we have those laws, is so that we can actually hold industry back from harming people, because without that, they will do it. Jesus. I mean, history has already proven that. What the fuck evidence do we need in order to think that these business scions are going to give a flying fuckwad if there isn't a regulation there to stop them from doing something? So you can talk about, regulations are terrible. They're keeping your fucking ass alive. Like, please. I don't know. It's wild to me. It just is totally wild. All right. Anyway, let's keep going with this.
obviously the big one was the situation with
Oops,
Gaza,
now I can't hear. Oh.
which again is ongoing. There is now a ceasefire. There's that war is no longer going on at the scale and scope and all the other things that were going on before. But obviously there's more work to remain. We are still through the process of trying to implement phase 1 and lead to phase 2 and phase 3. That is a long-term project, some of which will extend beyond the 4 years of this administration, but I thought was a very important achievement as well. So we have a lot to be proud about. I know you probably have some specific questions, and we can get to those, but I wanted to let that, lay that out as the preface and predicate for everything we're going to do today. So I'm going to start. How do I start? I'm going to start from the back row forward.
He seems nervous.
I'll start with this gentleman with the white hair in the back. Yes, sir.
Ask you about Gaza. U.S. wants Pakistan troops to be in Gaza. Has U.S. got a consent from Pakistan that they will be sending their troops in Gaza for peace building and peacemaking?
Yeah. Well, look, in fairness to all the countries we've talked to about being and having a presence on the ground, I think they want to know specifically, what the mandate, what the specific mandate, it was the funding mechanism looks like. So we're very grateful to Pakistan for their offer to be a part of it, or at least their offer to consider being a part of it. I think we owe them a few more answers before we can ask anybody to firmly commit. But I feel very confident that we have a number of nation states acceptable to all sides in this who are willing to step forward and be a part of that stabilization force. And certainly, Pakistan is key if they agree to do so. But I think we owe them a few more answers before we get there. We're trying to make a lot of progress here with I think the next step here is announcing the Board of Peace, announcing the Palestinian Technocratic Group that will help provide daily governance. And then once that's in place, I think that will allow us to firm up the stabilization force, including how it's going to be paid for, what the rules of engagement are, what their role will be in demilitarization and so forth.
Thank you.
Next to you in the back.
Mr. Secretary, thanks so much for doing this. I want to start with Russia.
So nobody's thought about that yet?
You mentioned that.
Easy stuff, yeah.
You mentioned your efforts. There are talks going on right now, starting today and this weekend in Miami. What are your expectations from those talks? And the president yesterday made it clear he expects Ukraine to basically step up before Russia walks away. If you wake up in Odessa, if you're Ukrainian this morning, seeing Russians are bombing, your city, or if you turn on TV and listen to Putin, what he says, why would the Ukrainians, ignore what the Russians are saying publicly and believe in what they're hearing?
Yeah,
from
look,
mediators?
there's a reason why this war hasn't ended, and that is because there's complex factors at play. I know that sounds like a throwaway line, but it's true. What we have tried
actually,
to do
it does sound like a throwaway line, Marco, because you're basically milk toasting what your boss says, which is this war should have never started, and Putin's a problem, but so is Zelensky. No, he's not. Okay, Putin can put down his arms. Putin was the aggressor. Full stop. Putin can put down his arms and walk away. That's how he gets out of this war. But not with this administration. He'll get whatever the fuck he wants, probably. Anyway.
Process, and let's be clear about this. I mean, the United States is engaged in this. The president says this, and I'll translate what I think he's trying to say to you in all of this, and I think he's been pretty clear about it. It's not our war. It's a war in another continent. We have equities, we have engagement in this war, but it's not our war per se. But we are been told by everybody, I think everybody would agree, that there's only one nation on earth, there's only one entity on earth that can actually talk to both sides and figure out whether there's a way to end this war peacefully. And that's the United States.
Apparently
we've invested
not.
a lot of time, a lot of energy at the highest levels of our government. I believe, President Trump has had more meetings with foreign leaders and others on the war in Ukraine than on any other subject, including trade. He's invested a lot of time. Steve and Jared have invested time. I've invested time. The Vice President, the Secretary of War, others, Secretary of Treasury, and more have invested a tremendous amount of time and energy in this. And what we're trying to figure out here is what can Ukraine live with and what can Russia live with, sort of identify what both sides' positions are and see if we can sort of drive them towards each other to some agreement. Wars end generally in one of two ways. Surrender by one side for another or a negotiated settlement. We don't see surrender anytime in the near future by either side, and so only a negotiated settlement gives us the opportunity.
The negotiated settlement is Putin, take your soldiers and go home. And stop. That is the fucking agreement. Oh my God. This guy who wants to be president, or as close as he can get, Hopefully this is as close as he gets, frankly. Because he will simp for anybody. He will apparently, Marco Rubio to me used to be kind of like the normal one, and I'm talking years ago. I mean, I'm talking many, many years ago, way before the 2016 election, way before any of that. And he used to be kind of normal. And he just really, I don't know, he's like one of those kids in school who just, like, if the cool kids are doing it, he's gotta try. And I'm going to say he's pulling it off because he's the most serious appearing of any of the cabinet members. Yeah, actually by a stretch, which is saying something because he's an idiot. But yeah, I'm just, I don't think he has any gravitas or position when it comes to especially this war, because they're trying to make Ukraine give up land. And my God, this should be an easy, a sovereign country should not be invaded. Of course money can justify a lot. I mean, this is definitely all about money, but at the end of the day, you also have principles and morals, and you know what is right and what is wrong. And the fact that Putin is the aggressor, period. I mean, it's not even like a feeling. I'm not giving you my feeling on it. These are just the facts. And this has been happening time after time after time. And he's allowed to get away with it. And he poses a threat to Poland. He poses a threat to the Baltic states. He poses threats to other areas. I mean, it is not in our interest to ignore his desire for more land. Because he will subjugate people and people will die. It's not just, oh, we don't want him there because he's not one of us. No, 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 no. It's because he will kill people. And he will kill and ethnically cleanse as many Ukrainians as he can. Oh. Okay. All right. But keep going, Marco. Tell us all
about it. A negotiated
it.
settlement requires two things. Both sides to get something out of it, and both sides to give something. And we're trying to figure out what can Russia give and what do they expect to get, what can Ukraine give and what can Ukraine expect to get. In the end, the decision will be up to Ukraine and up to Russia. It will not be up to the United States. So that's the role we are trying to play in this. And that's why you see so many meetings going on. This is not about imposing a deal on anybody. It is about determining what both sides expect and need to have and what both sides are prepared to give in return for it, and figuring out whether we can have those two overlap. And of course, that takes a lot of time and a lot of hard work. It can't generally be done in the media or in press conferences. I think we've made progress, but we have ways to go. And obviously, the hardest issues are always the last issues. Yes. All right, I'm going to go to the next row. That gentleman right there with the glasses. Well, right behind you, because you're not the next row. That's the next row right there. Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to ask how you
I'm
view...
sorry, I didn't see, okay, well, go ahead, you can start. I hadn't seen you, I'd seen him, but you can go, because you're first on that row. So.
Okay, great, thank you so much.
As a well-oiled machine, ladies and gentlemen, so go ahead, I'm sorry, man.
Thanks. I'd like to ask how you view recent escalation of tensions between Japan and China. You've been known for your tough rhetoric towards China over the years. Do you condemn China's recent provocative actions against Japan?
Yeah, no, I think I've been nice to China, in terms of the work we have to do with them. And I mean, I had another job. My job now is I represent the President of the United States and the United States in foreign diplomacy. And I think we've made good progress with the Chinese. The Japanese are a very close ally of the United States. I think these tensions are pre-existing. We understand that's one of the dynamics that has to be balanced in that region. And I believe that we feel very strongly that we can continue with our strong, firm partnership and alliance with Japan and do so in a way that continues to allow us to find productive ways to work together with the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese government. Look, there'll be tensions, there's no doubt about it. I mean, at the end of the day, China is and it will continue to be a rich and powerful country and a factor in geopolitics. We have to have relations with them. We have to deal with them. We have to find the things we are able to work together on. And I think both sides are mature enough to recognize that there will be points of tension now and for the foreseeable future. Our job as part of responsible statecraft is to find opportunities to work together, because I think if there's a global challenge that China and the U.S. can work together on, I mean, I think we can solve it. And there'll be points of tension. We will recognize that, and our job is to balance these two things. I think both sides understand that. And I think we can do that without imperiling or in any way undermining our very firm commitment to our partners in the Indo-Pacific. That includes not just Japan, but South Korea. And obviously, if you extend further out, you know, I don't want to leave anybody out, but India and Australia and New Zealand and all the other countries. And we also have growing and burgeoning relationships with countries like Vietnam and even Cambodia that we really haven't had, you know, very close contacts with historically. But we've talked to them a lot lately, obviously through the context of the conflict going on with Thailand, but also to figure out opportunities to work together strategically. And I say Thailand, of course, we've had a very long and strong strategic alliance with them for many years. All right, now you're...
Yeah,
yes,
but
sir.
your
Thank you.
ceasefire didn't
Gracias, señor
hold, did
secretario.
it?
Dos puntos concretos en español. Bajo esta lógica hemisférica, ¿han considerado ampliar la presión más allá de Venezuela o Colombia a regímenes como los de Nicaragua o Cuba? Y segundo, esta semana en el Congreso se denunciaba que México está mandando decenas de buques petroleros a Cuba con la preocupación de que eso financia la dictadura. ¿Debería México reconsiderar esta política de asistencia al régimen cubano?
I'm going to answer in Spanish if that's okay, guys, and then I'll do it in English as well. And does somebody do closed caption on this? Can they do it? It doesn't matter because I'm going to say the same thing in English. Mira, la amenaza más importante que existe en la región es estos grupos terroristas criminales. Es la amenaza que enfrenta Colombia, la amenaza que enfrenta el hemisferio entero, pero es la raíz de la violencia en Ecuador, en México, en todo Centroamérica, en todos estos países. Es la amenaza más primordial de la región. Entonces tenemos gobiernos que cooperan en nuestros esfuerzos en contra de eso. Panamá, Costa Rica, Ecuador, El Salvador, la República Dominicana. No dejo a nadie fuera, pero son muchos que cooperan. Tenemos y seguimos teniendo muy buenas relaciones con los equipos de seguridad de Colombia. Entiendo que el presidente de Colombia es una persona inusual, pero encima de eso tenemos, al nivel institucional, tenemos muy buenas relaciones y con México. El gobierno de México está haciendo más en este momento en el tema de seguridad que jamás en su historia. Queda mucho por hacer, pero tenemos cooperación. En el tema de Venezuela no tenemos eso, tenemos un régimen ilegítimo que no simplemente no coopera con Estados Unidos, sino coopera abiertamente con elementos criminales. Por ejemplo, el ELN y la FARC operan abiertamente desde territorio venezolano. Entidades de narcotráfico operan abiertamente y con la cooperación del régimen de Maduro para mandar drogas como cocaína a Estados Unidos a través del Caribe, creando una situación muy grave de seguridad en muchísimos países, inclusive Trinidad, República Dominicana, etc.
I cannot believe. This is where this is my brain block with Marco Rubio. Because again, I remember him as a relatively normal person who just disagreed with my politics on, I don't know, abortion, or I don't even know what his pro-life stance is. I'm sure it's pro-life now or whatever that is. But I cannot, I'm holding in my mind the picture of the killings that Hegseth is ordering and Dump is ordering in the Caribbean and the Pacific. And the fact that we've blown up 13 boats, or I mean some absurd number. And those are crimes. And there's a lot of people, the popular consensus, I should say, is that those are likely war crimes, at least to be adjudicated as such. And this man right here, this man who thinks he will be president someday because he's put in the time as Secretary of State, he doesn't seem to understand the gravitas of the fact that his administration, the administration that he is part of the decision-making apparatus of, is engaged in crimes against humanity. I don't think the impact of what Marco is involved with is really clear to him. I mean, I guess I hope it's not clear to him, because otherwise he knows what he's doing and he's perfectly fine with it. But I don't think this dude knows that he's on the hook for fucking war crimes / crimes against humanity, however it's going to be adjudicated. Like, dude, it's not about you being president or not in a few years. It's whether or not you're going to be at Nuremberg 2.0. It's whether or not you're going to be sitting in a cell next to Tom Holman. I don't think Marco realizes it's not just, you know, the covert Bush administration he's gotten himself involved with, which was bad enough. This is the not so covert, just outwardly racist and xenophobic and fucking I don't even know, like fucking Nazis. Like, why is he with the fucking Nazis?
Así que Estados Unidos lo que simplemente está buscando es la seguridad del hemisferio, que incluye, por ejemplo, Haití también. Y no hemos visto enfocado en eso. Obviamente los esfuerzos en contra de los barcos narcotraficantes saliendo de Venezuela han recibido mucha atención. Lo que no se habla lo suficiente, lo que estamos haciendo también en el mar Pacífico, donde hay esfuerzos andando también. La diferencia es que ahí tenemos la cooperación de gobiernos amigos. Lo que no se está hablando es lo que estamos haciendo junto con los mexicanos. Lo que no se está hablando es lo que estamos haciendo para crear una fuerza de estabilidad antipandilla dentro de Haití. Lo que no se está hablando es toda la cooperación que existe con todos estos gobiernos para llevar a cabo esta guerra en contra de estos elementos terroristas, criminales, que operan abiertamente dentro de nuestra región y que amenazan los estados de esta región. La buena noticia es que este nuevo año nos va a traer más gobiernos en el hemisferio que están dispuestos a cooperar en países como Bolivia, en Chile. Obviamente ya tenemos grandes amistades en lugares como Paraguay y Argentina. Y en fin, la reelección del presidente en Ecuador, la cooperación que existe en muchos países y esperemos poder ampliar esas relaciones con otros países también. Así que el esfuerzo se trata de eso y en eso estamos enfocados. Y obviamente tenemos que determinar cuáles son las fuentes de inseguridad en la región. Y esa fuente, la razón por la cual Venezuela ha recibido tanta atención, es porque Venezuela es un país que no simplemente es un régimen ilegítimo, que no simplemente no coopera con nosotros, sino abiertamente coopera con elementos criminales y terroristas, incluyendo Hezbollah, Irán y otros. Y obviamente estos grupos narcos cooperan abiertamente desde ahí. You know, the question and it's a question many of you might have as well, is when it comes to the Western Hemisphere, the single most serious threat to the United States from the Western Hemisphere is from transnational terrorist criminal groups, primarily focused on narco trafficking, but they're in all sides businesses as well.
So if that's the case, and you have, why then did Dump pardon the former president of, where is he from? Honduras. Why did he pardon the former president of Honduras a couple months ago who was dead to rights, caught running large drug cartels? Why is he then trying to prop up that guy? Or maybe he's not. I'm getting ahead of myself. Why did he pardon that guy? If we care so much about narco-terrorism, why in the world would you pardon one of the most notorious drug kingpins who actually was a head of state? How does that happen? Make it make sense. Oh, that's right, it doesn't. Because it's corruption. I don't know. I don't understand why Chuds put up with this. I really don't. I really don't. I don't know how pretzel twisted they can get to support an administration that is literally breaking the law and literally just lies to them. Not. I mean, I know what's really happening, so he's not lying to me. But my God.
So the good news is we have a lot of countries in the region that openly cooperate and work with us to confront these challenges. Mexico Their level of cooperation with us is the highest it's ever been in their history. Throughout Central America, for the most part, except for maybe Nicaragua and to some extent Honduras, we've had great cooperation from Ecuador, from El Salvador, from Ecuador being in South America, but across the Pacific coast where we're also undertaking efforts. Guatemala, Costa Rica, Panama, these are all nations that cooperate with us openly in search of stability in the region. You move to the Caribbean basin, in Trinidad, in Guyana, in Jamaica, in the Dominican Republic, countries that openly cooperate with us. Even Colombia, despite its unusual president, has institutions in that country that work very closely with us, and those ties remain unimpeded and unaffected. So all of this is very positive. There's one place that doesn't cooperate, and it's the illegitimate regime in Venezuela. Not only do they not cooperate with us, they openly cooperate with terrorist and criminal elements. For example, they invite Hezbollah in Iran to operate from their territory. But they also allow the ELN and the FARC dissidents not just to operate from inside of Venezuelan territory, to control Venezuelan territory, unencumbered, unimpeded. On top of that, we know that they are in cahoots with drug trafficking organizations.
That sounds
it's not
really
that they
bad,
don't,
and it
it's
sounds
not
like
just that they
something
don't
that
work
happens
with
in a
us
lot of
against
other
these
countries,
organizations,
but we don't do
okay?
anything
it's
about
that
it.
they
So
openly,
what's different about this
cooperate
one?
with these guys and allow them
Oh,
to
it's the
operate. So these
coltan.
guys are, marching in and out, doing whatever they want from Venezuelan territory, and it's a challenge. And so that's why that's received so much attention. But I would urge you to not just focus on that, but also focus on all the other things we're doing in the region, including, for example, standing up this gang suppression force in Haiti, which we were looking for 5,500 forces. We already have pledges of up to 7,500 forces from a variety of countries. We've seen donors step up to fund that effort. That's a very important effort. It all ties together cohesively. But the goal here is to bring security and stability to the hemisphere, to the region we live in, okay, which has not received enough attention.
This is why we have the UN. Okay, this is the reason we have the UN is they are an international peacekeeping force. And they have people come from all over, and they're well trained. I've lived in a country where the UN is the occupying force. So I know what I'm fucking talking about. So the UN are the ones who are supposed to go in because they can be truly independent of any nation. So why Marco is trying to reinvent the wheel by creating vigilante gang, or using soldiers from another country in order to, that doesn't work. That's why the UN is relatively effective. Now, is the UN big and bureaucratic? Hell yeah. Oh, believe me, I can tell you plenty of things I hate about the UN, but what I do know is that this is what they do, and that they are international forces so that you don't have one country determining what is happening in another country on the ground, because that's imperialism. So yeah, okay. All right. Continue, Marco. Continue.
To bring the elements of American power to achieve that, to do it in partnership with as many countries as are willing to work with us in that regard. That's the goal here, and it's comprehensive and involves more than just one place. What makes Venezuela stand out is that the regime there actually cooperates with the terrorists. Yes, sir. In that row right there. Yeah, right there in the middle.
On the hemisphere, the White House recently put out the national security strategy, essentially reorienting towards the Western Hemisphere.
It was
How
good,
is this
right?
strategy going to, yeah.
Well, I was involved.
So
in
you
it,
can
right?
answer from both hats, I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly.
But how is that strategy going to dictate your relationship with other hemispheric powers like Canada and Mexico?
No, I mean, we want to partner with as many people. I mean, they face the same threats that we do. I mean, it's Mexican mayors that are being assassinated in public squares. It's Mexican journalists that are being assassinated. It's parts of Mexico and institutions in Mexico that in some cases are compromised, usually through threat by these elements. They recognize it, which is why they're partnering with us. Of course we want to work with other governments in the region to confront this challenge, and in most cases we have cooperative places. Now, we don't have that from Nicaragua or Cuba, but obviously didn't have it historically from Bolivia. We hope and expect that that will change. And we certainly don't have that from the regime in Venezuela, who actually don't just not cooperate with us, they openly cooperate with narco-trafficking elements that use Venezuela as a transshipment point. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Today you had the second round of direct negotiations between Lebanon and Israel. Do you foresee a potential deal between these two countries without another round of war? And the second question, if I may, on Sudan. We know, Mr. Secretary, it's a civil war, but also there's a regional factor here. Where the U.S.
Regional what, I'm sorry?
Factor
Okay,
in this
yes.
war. Where the U.S. stands here, and what's a red line for you? Is a divided Sudan is a red line for the U.S.?
Yeah, let's separate the two because they're both easy questions, right? So the first one is we're hopeful. Look, at the end of the day, the goal everybody shares is a strong Lebanese government that controls the country, and Hezbollah is disarmed. They're no longer an armed element that can threaten Israel's security. That's the goal here. And we have tried to, in a cooperative way, to do everything we can to empower the Lebanese government to have the ability to do that. And so I hope that's what these talks are aimed towards, and we'll be supportive in every way we can to achieve that outcome. What I think is abundantly clear to everybody is no one is in favor of a Hezbollah that can once again threaten the region, act as a direct Iranian proxy, and obviously, if they threaten Israel, we're not going to have peace. So we are hopeful that the talks between Lebanese authorities and the Israelis will create outlines and a way forward that prevents further conflict. I think I don't speak for the Israeli government. I can only tell you and echo what they've said publicly, and that is that if they feel threatened by Hezbollah, they will take actions in their defense against them. So we all would hope that we could avoid that, right? We would all hope that in order to have peace, you have to avoid that, and the best way to avoid it is to have a strong Lebanese government that can actually control the country, and that Hezbollah is no longer an armed threat to Israel or to the Lebanese state. And that's what we're committed to hoping to achieve, and we hope that, I can't speculate on what the talks will lead to, but we'll do everything we can to make them productive. On Sudan, you've rightfully outlined, I mean, there are regional elements to this. I mean, there are clearly both sides, you know, the SAF and the RSF have supporters from outside of Sudan's borders that are involved, and we've been engaging with those countries. It's not just countries that are providing them weaponry and equipment, it's also countries that are providing transshipment, particularly to the RSF to receive weapons, in some cases advanced weaponry. Our goal right now in the short term, and what we've emphasized to everybody, including in my calls with leaders in the UAE, leaders in Saudi Arabia, we're very engaged in that. Our special envoy, Massad Boulos, just returned from the region, meeting with the Egyptians, with the Saudis, with the UAE, and others. We've also been in collaboration with the UK on some of this. Our goal, the immediate goal we have, is a cessation of hostilities, okay, a humanitarian truce going into the new year that allows humanitarian organizations to be able to deliver aid to the people in great distress. Right now, that's not possible. We are hearing, continue to see reports of humanitarian convoys actually being struck on their way in. And so you can just imagine what's amazing to us is these convoys are struck and the rest of the convoy continues. That's how committed these groups are. But what we said to everybody on it is that what's happening there is horrifying. It's atrocious. That one day the story of what's actually happened there is going to be known and everyone involved is going to look bad. And we have played the role we have played is a convening role in bringing the parties to the table. So I think we will know more very soon about whether this is possible. One of the challenges and frustrations in Sudan has been that one side or the other will commit to certain things, and then they won't live up to those commitments. They'll agree to anything and implement nothing. And oftentimes what happens is when one side feels like they're making advances in the battlefield, they don't necessarily see the need to concede at that point because they believe they're on the verge of achieving some success on the ground, and a truce would set them back. But what we've emphasized is none of these groups can operate without the support they're receiving externally. So we have been engaging with the countries involved from the outside to ensure that they are at the table and that they are pushing for the same outcome that we want, which is phase one, a humanitarian truce that at a minimum allows us to deal with the humanitarian calamity that occurs there. And obviously we hope that while that truce is ongoing, we can focus on the other elements that led to this conflict and help to resolve some of those. But our number one priority we're focused on, 99% of our focus is this humanitarian truce and achieving that as soon as possible. And we think that the new year and the upcoming holidays are a great opportunity for both sides to agree to that, and we're really pushing very hard on that regard. Yes, sir. Right there, because I missed
Secretario
you.
Rubio, en español,
Sí.
si me permite, el presidente Trump ha llamado al presidente Gustavo Petro drug leader y ha usado, digamos, términos
Bueno, él
fuertes
también
y-
ha dicho cosas a nosotros.
Totalmente,
Ok, pero
totalmente.
Claro, ok.
Secretario Rubio, ¿hay alguna prueba o por qué esta administración llama a Gustavo Petro? Quisiera saber por qué esta administración llama a Gustavo Petro un líder del narcotráfico. Y por último, secretario, si usted considera eventualmente ante la invitación que hace Gustavo Petro ahora al presidente Trump o a usted ir a Colombia y conversar con Gustavo Petro?
No, nosotros
Gracias.
conversamos con cualquiera. Desafortunadamente es una persona que no es muy estable en su pronunciamiento, pero no vamos a permitir que la actuación de un presidente, que al fin su término termina pronto, vaya a dañar la relación que existe entre Estados Unidos y Colombia, una relación muy cerca, una relación que se ha establecido a través de los últimos 50 años, una relación importante comercial, diplomática, militar, de seguridad, uno de los grandes socios y aliados que tenemos en la región. Y lo que queremos, no vamos a permitir que cualquier tipo de problema que existan con un individuo vaya a hacerle daño a esta relación tan importante. Esperemos que en el futuro exista la oportunidad de tener más cooperación a los niveles más altos del gobierno colombiano, pero no vamos tampoco a dañar, o no queremos dañar, a todas las relaciones que tenemos y los enlaces que tenemos, incluso con individuos en el cuerpo legislativo y también con oficiales electos al nivel local, muchísimos alcaldes y de diferentes lugares dentro de Colombia que también tienen muy buena relación con Estados Unidos y la amplia y estrecha relación que existe entre nuestros pueblos también. The question is again by Colombia. I said, look, we're not going to let sort of the pronouncements of an unstable individual over there to impact. We don't want to let it impact our broader relationship with Colombia. It's an important relationship, an important alliance. It extends through commercial, people to people, cultural, obviously security and stability, all of these things. And our job is to try to the extent possible, maintain those strong ties between Colombia and the United States and not allow them to be imperiled by the pronouncements of one person. We would hope to see a day soon in which we have better relations with the leader of that country, but we're not going to let the fact that doesn't exist now, we're going to do everything possible to not let that impact the relationships we have with the people of Colombia, with the nation, with their economy, with their security forces, which are very important. This is a very important alliance, a very important strategic partnership, which we've built up through a lot of hard work over decades. And we're not going to let that fall apart because of one person. If that changes and he changes, that would be great. And obviously, in May, there'll be a new president there and there'll be elections, and we'll work hopefully more cooperatively with whoever replaces the current president, but that's up to the people of Colombia. Did I not get your question? Go ahead.
Thank you.
Is it
Returning
up
to
to the
Gaza,
people of
what is the
Colombia?
U.S. understanding of what Hamas
hope.
is willing to concede on disarmament? Reports suggest that Hamas might hand over its heavy weapons, but retain its smaller arms. Is the U.S. prepared to accept partial disarmament as sufficient?
Yeah, I'm not going to
in
get
phase
into the
two?
details of those types of negotiations. Let me just couch it to you this way. Everyone wants peace. No one wants a return to a war.
Hi, Dean.
If Hamas
How are
is
you?
ever in a
Happy
position in the
holidays to
future
you
that they can threaten or
too.
attack Israel, you're not going to have peace.
Are you
You're not going to
making
convince
jam
anyone to
this
invest money
week?
in Gaza if they believe another war is going to happen in 2-3 years.
I wanna
so
have
I
some
would
of
just
the
ask
jam,
everyone to
okay?
focus on
Where's the
what are the
jam?
kind of weaponries and
I need a
capabilities
jar
that
of
Hamas
jam.
would need in order to threaten or attack Israel as a baseline for what disarmament needs to look like. Because you're not going to have peace. If 2 years from now Hamas is launching rockets or killing Israelis or carrying out, God forbid, another 7th of October type terrorist attack and so forth, you're not going to have peace. So who's going to invest in a peace? Who's going to invest in rebuilding a place that's going to get destroyed again in a future war? So that's why disarmament is so critical. Now, what that entails, we're going to leave that to the technical teams to work on. It would have to be something, obviously, that they're willing to agree to, that our partners can push them and pressure them to agree to. It also has to be something that Israel agrees to. In order for that to work, both sides have to agree on it, and we need the space to do it. But that's the way to think about it, okay? You cannot have a Hamas that can threaten Israel in the future. If they can, you won't have peace. So that's the goal. All right.
Dean, I'm
Who's left in
serious.
that row?
I
Right
would
there with the
so
mustache. Or the,
drive by and pick up some
Does the
jam.
U.S. have the goal of removing Maduro from
Oh.
power? Do you expect any regime change this 2026? I would appreciate if you could answer both in English and in Spanish.
in Spanish.
Yeah.
It sounds so much better in Spanish when I
Yeah.
answer that question.
No,
Okay.
but for my
So
colleagues,
I'll
yeah.
start in English. Look, our goal is regional stability and security and the national interest of the United States. The national interest of the United States, specifically when it comes to Venezuela, is as follows. We have a regime that's illegitimate, that cooperates with Iran, that cooperates with Hezbollah, that cooperates with narco-trafficking and narco-terrorist organizations, inclusive, not just protecting their shipments and allowing them to operate with impunity, but also allows some of them to control territory, the ELN and the FARC-D. Okay? The ELN and the FARC dissidents operate openly. They have like open camps that they control territory inside of Venezuela. That is our national interest, and that is what this is focused on. And that's what the president's been focused on. And that's what we're conducting. And that's what we have been focused on the entire time, because that is the threat to the national interest of the United States. Now, do we consider Maduro legitimate? No. And by the way, guys, when I say these things about Maduro and his role in narco trafficking, it's not. I hear his reports. Marco Rubio says it. It's not me. A grand jury in New York, in the Southern District of New York. Okay, a grand jury in the Southern District of New York.
What about? Yes, and it's Canadian jam too. You can get it up in Canada, but we can't. Narco terrorism. That's a good one. Oof, that's a good one. Okay, listen. If Maduro is such a terrible drug trafficker, then why did you pardon the former president of Honduras, who is actually convicted by a jury drug trafficker and kingpin? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Fucking hell. I mean, I actually wouldn't like this, because I don't think at this point Marco can tell when he's lying and when he's just, riffing. But I would, to be able, like these dudes do, and I watch so much of them talk about, what they're doing to the country and why it's just so important that we do it to this country right now. They all speak as if the ability to lie so easily is insane. And I think it's not only about the oil, because I was watching one, like it was a Times report, I think, on the causes. I mean, I think it's oil. I think it's minerals. I think it's Technit of America. That's what I think. I think it's Technit of America. That's what I think. I think it's not Greenland or South America. It's Greenland and South America. That's what the national security strategy laid out. That is what the Mar-a-Lago Accord laid out. This is all the Mar-a-Lago Accord. And I yet still have not heard any fucking normal journalist talk about the Mar-a-Lago Accord. And the fact that taking all of these resources is and owning, yes, it's a floor wax. It basically, and it is what the risk board demands. That's right. This is a game of risk. But it's like, come on. Let's just call a thing. Okay? They've already said, it's not even me like extrapolating from the documents that have come out of the administration. It's fucking what they say. Like fucking chuds need to read this shit. Oh my God. Ugh. Let's see, how far along?
Was presented evidence and came back with an indictment, not just against Maduro, by the way, but against a bunch of people in his government for narco trafficking. A bunch. He had, his nephews or the nephews of his wife indicted, convicted in the United States for narco trafficking. Like this was, until President Trump started doing something about these narco trafficking links, nobody disputed that Maduro and his regime was in cahoots with narco traffickers. Not to mention the fact that they unleashed Tren de Aragua gangs on the United States. They've unleashed, a mass migration event, perhaps the largest in history. 8 million people have left Venezuela since 2014. So also destabilizing. All
Where's
the countries
Jason
in the
Miller?
region,
Where's Smoothie
who've
King?
had to assume people that are fleeing this illegitimate regime. So, but nobody disputed the drug links. So that's what the president's been focused on, and that's the problem. And that's the problem in Venezuela. En el caso de Venezuela, es muy simple. Es un régimen ilegítimo que coopera abiertamente con Irán, con Hezbollah y con grupos narcotraficantes. Incluso la ELN y la FARC que operan abiertamente dentro del territorio venezolano encima de los demás. Entonces, la amenaza que enfrenta los Estados Unidos es eso. Que tenemos un régimen ilegítimo que coopera abiertamente con elementos terroristas, y por eso consideramos el régimen de Maduro un régimen terrorista, cooperan abiertamente con elementos terroristas que amenazan la seguridad de Estados Unidos. Punto. Ese es nuestro interés y en eso estamos enfocados. Okay, next row right there. You. Yeah.
With all due respect for my colleagues, I'm going to ask this one in Spanish.
Okay.
Señor secretario, usted acaba de decir que no espera o que no es la intención de Estados Unidos que las diferencias con el presidente Gustavo Petro generen afectaciones para la relación con Colombia. Pero la verdad es que sí las han generado. Colombia fue desertificada, el presidente Donald Trump ordenó suspensión de recursos de cooperación para nuestro país y ya se están viendo consecuencias en materia de seguridad en Colombia. Nada más anoche asesinaron a 6 soldados colombianos, el ELN, con un atentado terrorista. Y la gran pregunta en Colombia hoy es ¿qué va a pasar el próximo año si Colombia elige un presidente de izquierda? Si las relaciones de Estados Unidos, las buenas relaciones con Colombia y el respaldo de Estados Unidos va a depender de que el pueblo colombiano elija un presidente que sea visto con buenos ojos por parte de esta administración.
No, pero que esto no se trata de izquierda ni derecha. Esto se trata de una persona que simplemente no coopera con nosotros en estos esfuerzos. De eso se trata. Al final del día, el pueblo colombiano va a escoger el próximo presidente. Es una democracia, tienen elecciones, esperemos que se cumplan todos los requisitos. Tienen una larga historia de cumplir los requisitos democráticos. Aquí no estamos diciendo que Petro no fue electo democráticamente, aquí nadie dice que no fue así. Pero en fin, esto no se trata de izquierda ni derecha, se trata de tener en poder un presidente que coopera con nosotros. Obviamente, sin duda, la postura que era tomada en contra de Estados Unidos ha afectado a nuestra relación, no hay duda de eso ninguna. Estamos tratando de limitar eso lo más posible, pero también tenemos intereses que tenemos que proteger. Y tampoco vamos a pretender, cuando tienes un presidente diciéndole a los elementos de seguridad que no cooperen con Estados Unidos, eso no lo podemos ignorar. Pero por otra parte, entendemos que tenemos dentro del sistema colombiano, incluso al nivel legislativo, en el Congreso, en el Senado, también alcaldes y otros líderes políticos de ese país que sí quieren buenas relaciones con Estados Unidos, y incluso líderes que no son de derecha, que son de izquierda, pero que entienden la importancia de esa relación. Pero esto no se trata de ni izquierda ni derecha, se trata que si va a cooperar con Estados Unidos o no. Tenemos una larga historial de cooperar con Colombia, que fue un ejemplo y un modelo para la región, y ahora tenemos algo un poco menos, que es lamentable. Ojalá que eso cambie. The question was about whether the U.S. relations to Colombia is dependent on whether they elect a leader that's center-right or center-left. It has nothing to do with left or right.
Oh,
it has to
give
do
me
very
a
simply
fucking
with
break.
whether or not we have a leader there that we can work with. The U.S.-Colombian relationship, especially our security relationship, but also our economic one with the free trade agreement, is a model. It was a model for the region. We tried to replicate that. Everybody would use Plan Colombia as an example of what you need to do in these other places. And we want to continue that. Now, no doubt, when you have the president of a country saying some of the things and ordering some of the things that he's ordered, it's going to have an impact on some of that relationship. Our job is to try to preserve and protect as much of that relationship as possible, but it will be impacted. But it doesn't matter whether the next president is center-right or center-left. That's not the issue. The issue is whether the next president is someone who's going to, once again, cooperate with the United States and restart these relations. That's what we seek. And if President Petro changes in his stance, perhaps that could change as well. But if he doesn't, obviously, it'll be up to the people of Colombia to elect their next president. Yes, ma'am, right there in the middle. I don't want you guys to think I'm only picking the Spanish ones, okay? I actually don't know who any, well, there's a list here, but I can't even read it without these glasses. All right, go ahead, I'm sorry, perdón.
Secretario Rubio, usted lleva años denunciando el régimen de Nicolás Maduro y estuvo, entiendo, hace poco en una conversación telefónica donde hablaron el presidente Trump y Nicolás Maduro. Quisiera preguntarle cómo sintió a Nicolás Maduro en esa conversación, usted que lo conoce desde hace años, pues su comportamiento, si siente que está acorralado como reportan los medios, si está abierto a irse a otro país a cambio de un indulto, si ustedes estarían pensando en reunirse con él. ¿Cómo fue esa conversación? O sea, ¿qué nos puede contar de el efecto que está teniendo sobre la presión?
Yo no voy a comentar sobre ninguna conversación del presidente Trump con cualquiera del mundo, si existió o no existió. Yo no voy a comentar sobre eso. Voy a repetir lo que he dicho ya. Esto se trata de algo muy simple. Y esto se trata de los intereses nacionales de Estados Unidos. Y hay una amenaza regional que existe. Y en el caso de Venezuela no tenemos cooperación. Para empezar, que es un régimen ilegítimo. Segundo, que es un régimen que no coopera, es antiamericano en todos sus pronunciamientos y actuaciones. Y tercero, es un régimen que no solamente no coopera con nosotros, sino abiertamente coopera con elementos peligrosos, terroristas y criminales. Incluso ellos mismos lo son. Entonces es difícil llegar a un acuerdo con terroristas que están abiertamente cooperando con estos elementos peligrosos que amenazan la seguridad de Estados Unidos. Encima de eso no voy a especular más.
Pero va a haber guerra, secretario, porque ahorita en Colombia todo el mundo se está levantando, en Venezuela, con la posibilidad de que haya una guerra entre Estados Unidos y Colombia.
Nosotros estamos protegiendo el interés nacional de Estados Unidos. Yo creo que, en fin, ese es nuestro derecho. Y también le diré que en Colombia debe haber mucha preocupación, que ha habido un ataque el día antes de ayer, o fue ayer, de ELN, o la FARC, creo que fue ELN, y ¿de dónde operan ellos? Abiertamente, de territorio venezolano, abiertamente, como si fueran un país soberano, operando abiertamente dentro del territorio venezolano. It's the same question, guys, and that is, the bottom line is very simple. Our interest in Venezuela and in the region is the national interest of the United States, and in Venezuela we have an illegitimate regime that not only does not cooperate with the United States, but openly cooperates with narco-terrorists and others who threaten the national security of our country. The gentleman in the middle. I'm going to try to get to everybody, I promise. But you guys, by then, your questions will be
Thank you,
more
Mr. Secretary.
specific.
You said a few moments ago that everyone wants peace for Gaza, and yet by any metric, the Israelis are flouting the ceasefire that President Trump negotiated by killing an average of 2 children a day, not allowing the agreed-upon humanitarian aid into Gaza. How long can this continue? How long can the Israelis be allowed to show such disrespect to President Trump?
Well, look, that's your characterization of it about the term disrespect. What I would say is this. This was, first of all, it was a miracle that it happened in the first place. We all understand how difficult it was for that to come to the conclusion that it did, where the bombing and everything else, the scale and scope of what we saw ended, all the hostages were released, and we have relative peace right now for the most part, despite the things you're pointing to. That was very difficult. But this is not easy. Peace is a verb. It's an action. It's not a sentiment. Every single day will bring challenges. Every single day. We also have had instances, for example, over the last couple of weeks, where Hamas elements emerged from a tunnel, attached an explosive device to the side of a vehicle, and injured and almost killed Israeli soldiers. We still have this threat. We still have and see every single day Hamas openly taking steps to strengthen themselves within inside of those places in Gaza that they still control. We saw early on the atrocities they were committing in the streets against people as they were trying to show people how strong they were. So I don't think I'm standing here to tell you this is going to be easy. This is an hour-by-hour, day-by-day challenge. It's one of the reasons why we have stood up this center there in operating in Israel, in partnership as well with another cell that exists in a regional country. It's why every single day there are meetings among both intelligence, diplomatic, and military officials of multiple countries that help bring about this deal to manage this. And that's why it is so critical. It is so critical and so key that we move to complete this first phase, that we move to put in place the board of peace, get everybody agree to be a part of it, move to put in place this Palestinian technocratic organization so that they can begin to provide some governance structure, and move to put in place the stabilization force. That's the goal here, but it's not going to be easy. Every day will bring new challenges to that, and we recognize those challenges are coming from all sides.
Very quick follow-up there, but who's going to want to be a part of a stabilization force if Israel is effectively using Gaza as a free fire zone?
Well, these are the things that we're working through right now. That's why it didn't happen yesterday. That's why we didn't, I don't mean yesterday literally, that means why we're not there yet. This is the hard work of diplomacy and peacemaking. Peacemaking isn't just signing a piece of paper, it's actually complying with it. And compliance oftentimes requires, in most cases, requires daily, constant follow-up and nurturing. So that is why we are in such a hurry, and I say, as a priority, to get to this point where we have the stabilization force in place, overseen by the Board of Peace, and ultimately a Palestinian technocratic entity that can increase in its capability to provide governance. The stronger they are, the weaker Hamas will be in terms of threatening Israel. And I think the more security Israel should feel, and the less need for some of these things to happen. But no one's claiming this is going to be easy. We have to work on this every single day. We have people in this building and deployed abroad. This is all they do. 24 hours a day, day after day, elements of the State Department, the Department of War, and all other agencies, including Jared and Steve, and even myself, who talk or do something about. There isn't a day in the last, this was signed 2 months ago, that I haven't had to do something with regards to making progress on the phases of this ceasefire. Yes, ma'am. Right next.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
I'm sorry. I'm going to get to you guys. I'm coming. See, I'm going down the rows like this.
Thank you.
So right behind you, I'm still in that row.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you for having the briefing.
Has anyone ever done this where they go like all the rows?
No.
You're going to look so good to your editors. All right, go ahead.
Caroline Lumetta with World News Group. Several faith-based organizations have been calling on the administration to reopen the U.S. refugee admissions program, particularly for religious minorities facing persecution. That includes Afghanistan, Syria, Iran. Is it going to be a goal in 2026 to expand that program again beyond South Afrikaners?
Yeah, so here's the problem, okay? In the last 4 years, we had a flood of people enter this country through a variety of means. So that's what we confronted. We have to stop that. And we did. We've been successful. You see the border secured, the number of illegal entries
for Christians.
It's completely collapsed.
We're the
and now we're
world
facing the second challenge, and that is we've admitted a lot of people into the United States. And perhaps the overwhelming majority of them are not bad people and so forth. This is all true. But there are people, we know, okay, for a fact, that there are people in this country who got in through some form of vetting that was wholly insufficient. And we've seen tragic evidence of that very recently, including people that we claim to have vetted. So, why does that happen? Because there are some places where you can't vet people. You can only vet people on the basis of information you have about them. But that information is oftentimes dependent on whether there's some local authority that actually has any information about them. Okay, so that is the challenge we're facing, which is why the president has sort of put a stop to all of these things until these systems for admitting people into our country can be improved. But I think everyone would understand that after a flood of 15 to 20 million people into our country, almost unrestrained in some extent, over the last 4 years before taking over in January of this year, there's a desire in our country to put a stop to that until we can fix these processes to ensure that not only do we know who's in the country now, but in the future, we're not going to face some of these challenges that we faced in the past. So, look, the United States remains the most generous country in the world when it comes to legal immigration.
Actually, we
this year
don't.
alone, close to 1 million people will enter this country legally and have their green card and go to work.
Yeah, because we're
but we
a
do have
different
a
type
right,
of
like every
country
sovereign
than
country
others
does,
are.
to know who you are, why you're coming,
We're
what you've
based
done
on
in the past,
immigration.
and what we think you might or might not do in the future. We have a right. We have a right to make sure that you're not going to come to this country and pose a burden
So do your
on
job.
our social
That's not
safety
my
network.
job. Do your
All
job.
these things are rights of sovereign countries. A bunch of sovereign countries in the world do it. Most of the countries in the world have far more restrictive immigration policies than the United States has ever had. But we are in a special period right now. This is not like business as usual. This is, right now, we are less than a year removed from the most reckless migratory incompetence in American
Shut the fuck
history.
up. Even
Where a
you know
flood of
that's
people
not
in
true,
mass
you
migration
stupid
events
shit.
entered the United States, and they can claim all they want that they vetted people. This is just not true.
Go
Some
fuck
of them were cursory
yourself. It's the
vetting, and in
same
some
people,
cases
you
you couldn't
shithead.
vet them, because the countries or places they came from had no documents upon which they could be vetted on. So that program will be studied, and it will not be restarted at the scale
Yeah,
and scope
how about
it was
that
until we are
bipartisan
comfortable
border
that it is
bill?
one
Fuck him.
that we
Fuck
are
you.
not,
You're
we
gonna
know
burn in
everyone
hell,
who's coming in
Marco.
and who they are and whether they meet the
Wherever
criteria
hell
for
is.
admission to the United States.
Do you
Yes,
have
ma'am.
any sort of
Thank you
timeline
so
for
much,
that?
Mr. Secretary. A follow-up on the conversation between President Trump and Maduro, because the day after the conversation, the
wanna
president
talk
said
about-
he was going to be meeting that gentleman very soon.
We know that he wants
Is
Maduro
this still
out.
being considered? The president still considering that? Is still a chance for diplomacy on Venezuela? And also, any role that you see Brazil could play? Because just a few weeks ago, President Lula spoke with President Trump and Nicolás Maduro, and he offered to help to mediate the conversation.
Yeah, I'm not going
And,
to comment on any, as I said, I'm not going to comment on the president's talks. I will just point you to the fact that the thing about this president that I think you've seen is he's willing to talk to anybody. He's willing, he doesn't view talks as a concession. But I don't have any update to you on what comes next in that regard.
But you're the
I don't have no
Secretary
reason
of
to
State.
express skepticism or optimism
Teresa,
about it.
really?
I'm just not going to comment on what the president has available to him as options across the range of options that include diplomatic options.
And how about the conversation with Lula?
I mean, I think he said to us what he has said publicly, and that he has a willing to play a positive role in that regard. You know, the president's had 2 phone conversations and 1 meeting with President Lula. I think we've made progress on some things, including on trade. We have more work to be done. The 2 presidents got along. We felt that was important in terms of those conversations. I've talked to Mauro, their foreign minister, on it, including this earlier this week. And we have a lot of issues in common with Brazil that we'd like to work together on, and strong links. Being from Florida, as an example, I know how important Brazil has been to us as a partner. We've had some disagreements on a couple things over the years as well. But I feel like that relationship is on a positive trajectory. But as far as its role in Venezuela, I don't have anything to provide you on that today of any specificity.
Just a quick
Yes, sir.
follow-up on the tariffs, political tariffs
No,
on
I got to
Brazil.
get to him.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you very much for doing this. On phase 2 in Gaza, when is the soonest that we could see that being implemented? And then separately, you said at the top that you want the US to play the role of mediator that brings about the avoidance of war and ending conflicts. How do you square that position with a possible military intervention in Venezuela? Thank you.
Well, first of all, a couple things. Wanting to pursue peace and secure peace does not necessarily come at the expense of your national interest. We reserve the right and retain the option of defending our national interest. Now, in the case, again, we're going to talk about Venezuela. Let's be clear. Maduro has made multiple deals with elements around the world, including with the Biden administration. Okay, Maduro made a deal with the Biden administration, and here's the deal he made. And I only say this to you not because we want to get back to that deal, but just as an example of why the guy cannot be trusted to keep deals. It's a problem. Okay, somebody
And when does
breaks
that
deals
ceasefire
multiple
hit?
times.
Right,
you have a
Meow
right
and
to be
Star?
skeptical they're ever going
Good
to keep
morning.
the deal. He made a deal, and as part of that deal, they lifted sanctions. They released his 2 nephews from federal custody after their conviction. They sent back his bagman, Alex Saab, and all these sorts of things. He released political prisoners, and he promised to have free and fair elections. He didn't have free and fair elections. He rearrested or exiled most of those political prisoners, so he pocketed all the benefits and lived to none of those commitments. So, look, it's
Ooh,
hard.
he doesn't sound so
to have
sure about that.
and do a deal with someone who never keeps a deal. Now, on the broader perspective of what you're asking about, let's be mature here. Yes, there are issues where we want to pursue peace if that is possible. But we also have our national interest. If our national, we're not going to reach a peace deal with narco-trafficking bans. We're not. We can't reach a peace deal with MS-13. We can't reach a peace deal with Tren de Aragua. We can't reach a peace deal with the ELN or the FARC that are still pumping drugs into the United States or any of their cartels in Mexico. You can't do a peace deal with these people any more than you could do a peace deal with a mafia. So I think it's important to understand that's different between warring factions and nation states around the world where we feel like maybe we could act as a bridge to bringing about the differences. But when you're talking about things that directly implicate the national interest of the United States, and no one can argue that transnational criminality and terrorism in our hemisphere is not a threat to the national interest of the United States, we reserve the right and have the right.
Okay, so what is it? Is it that the United States is worried about narco-terrorism? You were the mafia. That's right, Jay. Is it that we're very concerned about narco-terrorism? Is it the oil because we just took their oil? Is it the what is the other thing they said it might be? What is it? Because yeah, we are the terrorists. We are the terrorists. Because typically the Coast Guard, if they're going to intervene with drug boats or whatever, they board them, they arrest people, they confiscate, etc. I'm looking at this man, Marco, and I'm saying to him, you are involved with a regime. You are responsible. You are responsible for this regime's war/humanitarian crimes. Yeah, that pardoned the cocaine trafficking, which we talked about. Like, oh my God. Like the height of just complete no morals whatsoever. This man can never be president. This man should never be president. Once he's out of this role, he should be put into the dustbin of history as the racist, fucking, tech-simping bitch that he is. He should be thrown away because he can't even drink a fucking glass of water. Oh, it's just fucking sick-making. They're sick.
To utilize every element of national power to defend the national interests of the United States. And no one can dispute that. And every country in the world reserves the same option. We just simply have more power than some of them do.
And phase 2, Gaza?
Oh, phase 2 Gaza, yeah. I mean, we got to complete phase 1 to get to phase 2. That's why we're working every day to get there. Look, guys, if this stuff was easy, it would have been done already a long time ago. This is a complex situation. No one would dispute it, but it's important. What we achieved already, what the president achieved,
Hey, look,
ending
you
that
guys,
war already
speaking
was
of
something no one
simps.
thought was possible. Everyone thought that the last episode was going to be
AMC,
an
I thought you
Israeli
died.
incursion
I haven't seen you in
into
so
Gaza
long.
City that would lead
Are you
to
sure you're not
massive
dead?
loss of life. And
Hey, AMC, I heard you say you were a plumber. Is that true? I heard you say that in Daisy's chat one day. Is that true? You're a plumber? Where do you live? Do you live near Daisy? Is that true? Is that true? Oh, wait. Are you shy? I'm just confirming what you said in a chat. And I think, are you in Ohio or Indiana? I don't really know. I don't know. And is it true that you sent drugs over state lines to Daisy? Because you said that in a chat too. Is that true? Did you send drugs over state line to Daisy? Is that true? Because you said it. I'm just saying what you said. That's all. Anyway, hang around. You might learn something.
Hostages would never be reunited with their families. And today, as we speak, all the hostages that were living are back, all but I believe one of the bodies has been returned. No one would have believed that 6 months ago. So that in and of itself, but that is not the end of the story. We want to continue on this. But what we're talking about is dealing with something that no one has been able to solve in 30 or 40 years. No one. And it's going to take some time. But I feel generally optimistic that we have the right people at the table with the right motivations to make it happen. But no one is claiming to you that this is going to be just a straight up trajectory. It's going to have its ups and downs. It's going to have its, good days and bad days. The important point is that the momentum and the trajectory on it is a positive trajectory. And we're investing, high levels of our government every day in trying to make that happen. But we can't do it alone. We have all these other partners that we have to include. So I would focus you on, let's get the Board of Peace in place and announced. Let's get the technocratic
another
Palestinian group in place. And then let's get the stabilization force in place. And then we can move on to the other elements, to phase 2 and phase 3 of the plan that hopefully will be what will be enduring. And the work of putting phase 2 and phase 3 in place is going to extend far beyond the next 3 years. I mean, this is a generational commitment.
My God,
but we want to leave those pieces in place
for
the next administration to continue to build upon, even as we achieve phase 1 and parts of phase 2 during this administration. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Mr. Secretary, some of your former Democratic former Senate colleagues who considered you one of their most trusted bipartisan partners have, since you joined the Trump administration, accused you of abandoning some of your former principles and positions. And 3 or 4 have said they regret voting for you.
I had 99 votes. I could have spared 4.
What's your response to that? And more importantly, how do you think about building and maintaining bipartisan consensus and cooperation on foreign policy at this moment, especially because that will be necessary to sustain President Trump's legacy after he leaves office?
I mean, we live in a very different time, unfortunately. I engage with senators, for example, from both parties. We saw a bunch of them the other day all the time, and obviously, but politics today is very different than it was 10 or 20 years ago. It just is. I'm not in that anymore. I'm no longer in a political office, but I know political offices. I served 14 years in the Senate, and politics is real, right? I mean, there's also not a lot of benefit to a Democratic senator saying what a great guy Marco Rubio is in this current political environment, or anyone in the Trump administration for that matter. So all I will tell you is I get up every day, we go to work. We get work done. We do cooperate and work with. They don't always agree with everything we're doing, but I have a lot of people in the Senate, particularly chairmen of key committees that we interact with. There's things people can say and do in the public that because of politics and private that they can't say or do in public. But I don't know what else to comment on that other than one more point, and that is, I think this is important. I think people have lost sort of their mindset here a little bit, okay? The foreign policy, the State Department is not its own government, okay? The Secretary of State is not its own government. I'm appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate, and then, or nominated by the president, confirmed by the Senate, and then appointed by the president. But at the end of the day, the person the people of the United States elected to be the president of the United States and the commander-in-chief is Donald J. Trump. That's who they elected. And my job, and the job of the people in our administration, is to implement the president's foreign policy. We provide advice, we provide counsel, but ultimately our job is to take what the president wants to do, take his vision, and implement it. Come up with options for implementing the president's vision. That's my job today. When I was a senator, I represented the state of Florida. Today, I am the Secretary of State for Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States, and my job is to implement the president's foreign policy, provide advice, provide counsel, provide ideas, provide for opportunities and ways in which his foreign policy can be implemented. But in the end, our job is to implement that. And why people think that somehow foreign policy can be divorced from our republic? That's not the way our Constitution works. The Constitution does not say you elect the President of the United States and then you put in place a State Department to undermine the President if the person who's the Secretary of State doesn't agree with him. That's ridiculous. That's stupid, really. And I don't know why anybody would think that. So that's the job I have, and that's the job I'm proud to do. I think we've made a lot of progress. We have a lot more work to do.
No, I don't think
All right,
you'd have.
Row right there from Italy.
Okay,
right?
I'm
I know
almost
you
done
from
with this
Italy.
guy.
Do you cover us now, or are you on Capitol Hill still?
No, everything.
Both. So you're like a
Hill
one-man
and
bureau for the
as
whole
well
thing.
as
All
here.
right. You're like me. You have two jobs. Good.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. So.
Okay, I think I'm going to stop there because I have some things I really want to read to you, but I will link this presser in the description because it's more of the same, right? It's more of the same. But at the same time, I think you've seen, first of all, the State Department press conferences are worth watching because the quality of journalist is better in the State Department pool than it is in the White House pool or the whatever else, like, I don't know, whatever other polls, congressional poll. So these, in fact, they are better than the congressional polls. So these are the best, I think, press conferences for getting at the most sophisticated questions and more nuanced information and putting people on the spot. And I think Marco thinks he's done really well. And he, I think on the outside people would go, oh yeah, he handled it. But I see desperation. I see he must understand that what he's involved in, he's not stupid. And so I still am kind of puzzled as to how he thinks he's going to get away with this. I really am. I think that about a lot of the people involved in MAGA is, what is their, sorry, it was so echoey. What do they actually understand how far this administration has gone outside of the law? Like case after case after case, although it's stuck in appeal process, which is so quintessentially Trump, to put things in appeal and never actually reconcile them, just keep them going. If this administration doesn't understand that what they are involved in is absolutely illegal, the courts over and over, except for SCOTUS, which is bought and sold, we know that's not a viable court. But the federal courts, etc., have been supporting democracy, supporting the actual Constitution, and telling this administration that they are outside the bounds of the Constitution. They are acting illegally. And yet this administration is able to keep moving because they act during the appeal process or anything else. So unwinding the damage that's been done is not going to be easy, but it is possible. Yeah, low bar. All right, let's do this. Let's see. Well, I'm glad we got some working of that. All right, so speaking of Marco Rubio and the damage he's done to the world, thank you very much. I wanted to read this piece from the Washington Post that came out yesterday. And it is Congolese rape survivors search in vain for medicine after USAID cuts. So this is just one story around what has happened. And we've read a couple of other stories about the impact of ending all USAID, which is still mind-blowing to me that even happened. So, yeah. Let me make this a little bigger so you can see it. See it. No. Yeah. All right, this might be difficult to hear, so I just want to warn you ahead of time that this is dealing with some very disturbing situations. So I just want to present that. If you need to tune out, I understand. Okay. Nadine was a top student at her high school in eastern Congo. Then, in April, she was gang raped by 4 men as she was gathering firewood for her family. The 17-year-old set off on a frantic search for help, first to her local clinic, where there were no rape kits left, and then to the hospital where she was told that none of the medication she needed was available. It took her several days to scrape together enough money to travel the few miles to neighboring Uganda for medical care. By the time she got there, it was too late. Her test showed she was HIV positive and pregnant. I sat down with my friend and cried, said Nadine, who, like others in this article, is being identified only by her first name. The Washington Post does not identify victims of sexual assault without their permission. Sexual violence is endemic in this part of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where it has become a weapon of war in the region that has rarely known peace over the past 30 years. Women and girls are raped in the forest, by the roadside, in their homes, anywhere they are vulnerable, by men and boys with guns, knives, or sticks, secure in their impunity. That looks familiar. For more than 2 decades, U.S.-funded humanitarian groups were relentless in spreading a message. If you are raped, seek help within 72 hours at the nearest clinic, where you can get a post-exposure prophylactics PEP kit. Inside is medicine that can prevent pregnancy and sexually transmitted diseases, including HIV, if taken within the 3-day window. For tens of thousands of women, it was a life-changing, sometimes life-saving intervention. But the sudden cancellation of a contract paid out by the U.S. Agency for International Development removed this layer of protection for many Congolese rape victims, according to nearly 50 interviews with survivors, healthcare professionals, and aid workers in eastern Congo. The Post visited 10 health facilities in South Kivu and Ituri provinces and spoke to health workers in North Kivu to document the impact of U.S. cuts, reviewing medical records to corroborate victims' accounts, and analyzing data from the government and from humanitarian groups. And here's the Congo. So I don't know if you can really see this, but Central African Republic is up here. South Sudan is right here. Here's the Ituri province. North Kivu, South Kivu. Goma, which is the capital, is very, I think it is, isn't it? Oh, no, Kinshasa. I'm so sorry. Kinshasa is the capital. But Goma is a large area. And along here is where we used to work. When I worked in anti-slavery work, we worked in the Congo. I have a dear friend who ran the Congo program. I hope he's okay, because he was always under surveillance by the Rwandan government, because he had to live in Rwanda, which is over the border. And so he had to live in Rwanda, but then he was constantly under surveillance by the Rwandan government, but he worked in the Congo. Oh, God, I love that man. Okay. Anyway, so this is the Congo, so that you get a sense. Reliable figures are hard to come by in the Congo, a country hollowed out by corruption and poor governance, but the available statistics tell a consistent story. Last year, 96% of women who came to a clinic in Ituri within 72 hours of an attack received the medication they needed, according to a data. Okay. 96% of women who came to a clinic in Ituri within 72 hours of an attack received the medication they needed. That figure fell from 96% to 76% in the first 6 months of this year, the database showed. The actual number was probably significantly lower, experts said, because it didn't include data from many smaller clinics where the Post found that shortages of PEP kits were most pronounced. You got kicked out of Zaire at Goma. Oh! Yep, you get kicked out. Naughty girl. A separate database kept by the UN Population Fund, which includes reporting from the government and other sources, showed that 44% of women in Ituri this year have been able to get the medicine they needed within 72 hours. In North Kivu, under occupation by the Rwandan-backed rebels, an UNFPA assessment in August showed that only 845 PEP kits were available across 34 health zones, where an estimated 23,000 women are projected to need them through November. The scarcity of resources has coincided with a spike in fighting and sexual violence throughout eastern Congo this year. UNFPA says cases of reported rape are up by about a third over last year. But women and girls coming to clinics, terrified, in pain, and at great personal risk, often found the shelves empty. Many survivors said in interviews that they were referred elsewhere for help but were unable to make the trip or had already missed the 72-hour window. They included a penniless 16-year-old impregnated by her rapist and kicked out by her family, a woman gang raped next to the body of her husband who had been killed by armed men, and a mother of 4 who contracted syphilis and gonorrhea after being assaulted by members of a militia. Their plight underscores the far-reaching consequences of the United States' decision to abruptly eliminate USAID and dismantle its vast global architecture. On his first day in office, Dump signed an executive order freezing billions of dollars worth of foreign aid. Hi, Jen Griffey. Hi, baby. Foreign aid that was not, quote, not aligned with American interests and in many cases antithetical to American values. God, this just makes me so sick. I can't even tell you how sick this makes me. Just fucking sick. Billionaire Elmo Musk, Dump's erstwhile ally and the head of the short-lived U.S. doggy service, spoke of feeding USAID into the wood chipper as thousands of programs were subsequently canceled. Among them was a contract with Interchurch Medical Assistance, a Washington-based nonprofit that was the sole supplier of PEP kits to the Eastern Congo. The sole supplier. Most of the money for the 2-year contract, $5.5 million out of $7.5 million, had already been paid by USAID, according to a March document that the administration provided to Congress. That covered the purchase of more than 116,000 PEP kits for the coming year, but not the shipping costs, which is very extensive, by the way. I've shipped things between West Africa and the Eastern Seaboard. And it's not easy. Oh boy, oh my God. Let me tell you about shipping things to fucking Africa. Oh my fucking God. Oh my God, this is bringing back so many not pleasant memories. Oh, pub lunch, yummy! A Christmas lunch. Happy Christmas, Mr. Scrooge. Said a person familiar with the contract who spoke on the condition of anonymity to avoid professional retaliation. So the kits never arrived. Health and aid workers confirmed. IMA declined to comment for this article. The nonprofit CARE, which has long worked with rape survivors in the Congo, said it had lost $12 million in U.S. funding for its Congo programs this year, forcing it to withdraw support for 12 clinics. In health centers where it still operates, the organization told the Post only 2 in 5 women are able to access PEP kits. So many people are going to die. So many people are dying, are going to die. It's just mind-boggling to me. It's really mind-boggling. So this is Christmas. Oh, wow. We're doing this. It's not even just a natural disaster or something like that. We're actually, we are the ones who did it. Because this administration, even if it wanted to get rid of USAID altogether, right? Could they have not given people time to replace that funding? Not that you could, by the way, because guess what? You can't. It's hard to raise money. I did it for 22 years. I know. It's hard to raise money. And replacing those grants isn't, I don't know where you find them. You know? I don't know who makes up. I just can't even do that. I just don't even understand this. I don't understand this. And they said that the PEP program would stay intact, and it hasn't. And people are just going to die. In the health centers, okay, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I did that. All right. Terminating their supply is not only shameful, callous, and causes incalculable harm to the women and girls who relied on this support, said Kate Almquist-Knopf, former head of USAID Africa. It also undercuts goodwill towards America. In response to questions from the Post, the White House Deputy Press Secretary Anna Kelly said in a statement, quote, America remains the most generous country in the world because President Trump has a humanitarian heart. Go to fucking hell, Anna. Burn in hell, you stupid cunt. Burn in hell. Burn in fucking hell. The administration will continue to make thoughtful agreements through America First global health strategy that match local investment from signatory countries. State Department and Musk didn't respond. Congo's health minister didn't respond to requests for comment, but local health officials uniformly described severe shortages this year. Yeah, so this is interesting. A woman with her child born from rape at the hospital in Beni. She was once paid $20 a month to guide fellow rape survivors to get legal advice under a program funded by USAID, which has been eliminated. Let me tell you about USAID. Let me tell you about the work that's done in other countries. Because the work that's done in other countries is to do things like this. It's not just putting a Band-Aid on the problem, okay? It's actually working locally with local organizations, local people who care about the community to help girls like this, where they can actually in turn get paid and help other survivors. It's creating capacity within the country themselves to respond to people in need. Do you not fucking understand that? When you train people on the ground who live there to fucking do the work and help support each other and fix the problems, that's sustainable development. That changes outcomes for an entire country, an entire population. That's why USAID funded theater programs around trans issues or around LGBTQ or whatever the topic might be, is because using that, number one, utilized local people to help be part of the solution and spreading that solution through street theater. We had a whole program in Ghana where people would drive from one artisanal mine community to another to do fucking street theater around the fact that you are not supposed to be enslaved by your artisanal mine owner. That no, you don't have to work off the room and board or the rice and the dirt that you get to sleep on. You don't owe your employer anything, because that's what happens. They convince children and families that the person must work off whatever they're getting from the artisanal miner and that they go into debt. It's indentured servitude. And it happens all over the fucking world. And that's what USAID, that's one part of what USAID was trying to attack. And let me tell you, there's a lot of private donors that support that work too. But there's not enough private donors necessarily, or at least not enough generosity, to make up for what USAID leaves behind. This administration should be in prison. This administration should be dead. This administration should be fucking put up at Nuremberg and hung, because what they're doing is killing mass amounts of people. Oh my God. Anyway. Okay. Rape victims in Congo are frequently rejected by their families and ostracized by society. Unable to find HIV tests, most of the more than 24 women interviewed by the Post were still unsure whether they had the virus. None were taking the antiretroviral drugs needed to prevent or control an infection. Among 56,000 survivors tested in North Kivu, South Kivu, and Ituri this year, HIV rates were up more than 50% compared with last year. Some women said they continued to sleep with their husbands, fearing abandonment if they disclosed their ordeal. Others had been kicked out of their homes. USAID funded outreach programs that aimed to reduce the stigma around sexual violence were also eliminated, aid agencies said, along with initiatives that help rape survivors start small businesses to survive. That's another thing that people would do. Okay? That's another thing people would do. Is that people would work in the community to create actual it's just like the work that's done internationally, and I have a problem, I don't think it should be like a colonialism. I think there's way too many, Western white people, running things and stuff like that. I think after being there and understanding more, and just having my eyes opened, it's about building capacity and using the resources of a rich country to help a country that is not as rich and to help those people stand up. I think you're right. I don't know, Meow, and I'm hopeful too, because I think the youth will guide us in the right direction. I really do. I believe in the youth to lead us to the next, and I'm sorry that they have to do that, but this is where we are. Yeah, the Great White Hope. Yeah, exactly. The whole Barbie savior complex. USAID funded outreach programs that aim to reduce the stigma around sexual violence were also eliminated so that people weren't kicked out of their communities. Aid agency said, along with initiatives that help rape survivors start small. But I read that already. I'm sorry. Nadine dropped out of school in August. Then she miscarried. Now she sells food by the side of the road. I have no plans for the future, she said. Oh, it's beautiful. American efforts to combat the rape crisis in this Central African nation began in 2002 during the Second Congo War, a conflict so deadly and diffuse it was called Africa's World War. Millions died. Local and external actors pumped weapons into villages to arm militias that preyed on the population. Dozens of armed groups are still operating in the country. No one knows exactly how many. Trump claims to have resolved the conflict between Congo and neighboring Rwanda, which has provided funding and military support to M23, the most powerful rebel group in the East. President Trump has done more than anyone to save lives, blah, 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 in the Congo, where he just solidified a historic whatever. Kelly lied to the Post. But there has been no let-up in the violence. M23 remains in control of large parts of the eastern Congo, and Rwandan troops are still in Congolese territory. Guess no one told them. No one told them about dump. M23 fighters seized a major town in December, just days after the leaders of Congo and Rwanda traveled to Washington to pose with Trump and reaffirm a peace deal first agreed to in June. Despite Congo's wealth of minerals, the vast majority of its people live in poverty. The administration in Kinshasa, the capital, is weak and fractious. Basic state services are non-existent in many parts of the country. 2 years ago, the government set up a foundation funded by mining royalties to help victims of rape. But a government audit found a pattern of irregular, unexplained expenses. Interesting. I don't take it. No, everyone's entitled to despise America. I despise this America. This is not what I want for our country. I don't want this for any of us. This is going backwards. This isn't going forwards. Before 2018, the U.S. and other donors supplied prophylactic medication to Congo in bulk, but distribution was a challenge. Clinics often lack the full array of medicines that rape survivors required. So USAID decided to fund individual sealed kits. Between 2018 and 2024, IMA supplied 130,000 such kits to Congolese women, USAID documents showed. Yeah, because every grant is evaluated and you have complete download of every fucking penny that was spent and what it did. Okay? Jesus. I don't know why people don't know that. Each PEP kit typically included drugs to prevent sexually transmitted diseases, antiretrovirals to prevent HIV infection, a pregnancy test, and levonorgestrel, an emergency contraceptive used to prevent pregnancy up to 72 hours after unprotected sex. After years of intensive public information campaigns, more than 60% of Congolese rape survivors seek medical help within the crucial 3-day window, UNFPA says, one of the highest rates in the world. With USAID funding, IMA also trained health workers in drug management and information collection, according to a 2023 report by the agency, and ran databases that allowed resources to be directed to the areas of greatest need. Yeah, people doing good work. Sounds to me like that organization was doing their shit. Yeah, I mean, helping the country's most vulnerable women and girls is not merely a medical obligation, it's a moral responsibility, said Denise Mukwege, a Nobel Prize-winning Congolese surgeon and campaigner who founded Panzi Hospital, which has treated tens of thousands of rape survivors. It is unacceptable that after decades of conflict, survivors in eastern DRC still struggle to obtain something as basic and essential as a PEP kit. Through other humanitarian partners, the U.S. funded counseling, supported safe houses, and helped traumatized survivors find work away from the remote farms and forests where many women are attacked. Yeah, I agree, Lee. I mean, I think it's healthy to be disillusioned with your country and push it to do better. That is really, like, we're not even close to a perfect union. But through Angie Quigo. God, a pain. I don't want to do it. USAID also assisted victims seeking redress. With backing from the U.S. and others, the international charity Physicians for Human Rights, hell yeah, helped develop a standardized form to record forensic medical evidence for prosecutors. The forms included in each IMA PEP kit were used in the 2017 conviction of a sitting member of parliament and 10 allied militia fighters for sexually abusing dozens of young girls and infants. Some as young as 18 months. In 2025, PHR said it was set to receive its first USAID grant, $340,000 to help survivors pursue justice. But the Trump administration terminated it in February. So I'm going to tell you this too. This is what happens. PHR would have known in 2024 that they were going to get the funds in 2025. So they would have planned and put things in place in order to launch the program when the funding came in. So all the work that was done to set that program up also went to waste. Wow. For more than 2 decades, Republicans and Democrats alike took a stand against the defilement of women and girls' bodies as a weapon of war, said Knopf, the former head of USAID Africa. It has always been in the interest of the United States to combat the worst human rights violations on the planet. Other donors, including European nations and Canada, have scrambled to fill the gap left by USAID. UNFPA PEP kits, funded in part by $12 million from the Congolese government, started arriving in bulk in October. A separate World Bank program will provide 25,000 kits to 25 health zones in Congo, down from the 115 zones IMA had planned to cover this year. 25 zones versus 115. Medical staff said the suddenness of the U.S. cuts magnified their impact. Right. And for many women, the new help came too late. Oh, the babies. Oh, the babies. On August 26, fighting was closing in on Rebecca's town of Chomia, a cluster of small cement and adobe homes on the shores of Lake Albert. It was too dangerous to sell fish at the market, so the mother of 4 went to the forest to search for bananas to feed her children. 2 men accosted and raped her, almost casually, she said, as if I was nothing. After they left, Rebecca said she lay for a while on the damp ground in shock and pain. Then, remembering the advice of the community health care worker, she recounted staggering for more than 4 miles to the closest clinic, the Centre de Santé de Chaumière. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't speak French. Where splashes of pink flowers cluster around a neatly stenciled sign emblazoned with the logos of USAID and the International Rescue Committee. Fishing industry. We worked in the fishing industry in Ghana, not in DRC. But there were no PEP kits left, Rebecca said, an account confirmed by IRC, which said it had since tried to source medications itself. An apologetic nurse told her she should try the general hospital, but Rebecca said she could hear gunfire and explosions in the distance. She had recently found bullet casings under the tree where she hung her family's laundry. She'd left her abusive husband during her last pregnancy. Scared to leave her children alone for any longer, she decided to go home. I lay awake the whole night, she recalled. I couldn't even cry in case I started to panic. Then people would know I was raped. She comforted her children, bright-eyed boys of 10, 8, and 6, and a chubby daughter of 3, who Rebecca said were having nightmares about the violence. She never made it to the hospital. Neither did Rosalie, 17, who said she was raped by a Congolese soldier in August when she was out fetching water. She had no one to tell. Her mother, the only person who had ever loved her, died when she was 10, she said, staring at the floor. Even if I told my dad, he wouldn't care, she said flatly. I have no one. She went to the same clinic as Rebecca, where she knew a nurse by name whispering a plea for help. No medicine was available. She went home and thought about her mother and cried, Rosalie said. She didn't have the energy to walk to the hospital, and she was afraid someone she knew might see her. Neither Rosalie nor Rebecca know their HIV status. The clinic they visited had also run out of free tests in June. No HIV tests, no rape kits, no TB drugs, no pediatric ARVs, sighed Clinic Chief Amos Agenoga Viorogio, using the abbreviation for antiretroviral drugs. He has worked there 13 years. We had stockouts before, but never this long. The sudden freeze on USAID programs caught everyone here by surprise, healthcare workers said, but the effects weren't always felt immediately. Some health zones had stocks of PEP kits that they sent out to local clinics. Pharmacists said they reserved the last of the supplies for the big urban hospitals. Eventually, there was nothing left. Florence Mimbaze Katabuka, Chomia's head pharmacist, ran a fingernail down a blue folder. In 2024, she said the zone had received 279 adult PEP kits, mostly from IRC, the Christian charity Court Aid, and the other Congolese group Sofapadi, all USAID partners previously supplied by IMA. This year, she said, they received 50. They ran out of supplies for the entire zone, which serves more than 50,000 people, in August and again on October 13th. Right now, our stock is 0, she said, snapping the folder shut. The Post found the region's 8 remaining PEP kits at Chomia General Hospital, but a nurse who spread them out on a scratched wooden table pointed out that some of the medication inside had expired. The kits usually have a shelf life of 2 years, making consistent supply chain essential. Should we still give these out? The nurse wondered, poking at the pill boxes. We don't have anything else. Several hours north of Chomia is Centre de Santé Mungere, health clinic, a modest collection of whitewashed buildings perched among the rolling green hills of the Mahagi region. It was where Nadine, the high school student, first sought help after being assaulted, but the clinic ran out of PEP kits around April, according to nurse Christine Tumaini. She said it typically received about 5 rape survivors a month. There had recently been a worrying drop-off in the number of women seeking immediate treatment, she added, perhaps because word of the shortages had spread. When there's medicine, more people come, but if there is not, then they get discouraged, she said. They're ashamed to go to another place where people might look at them. Increasingly, Tumaini said, rape victims were showing up well after the 3-day window had closed, with more advanced cases of sexually transmitted diseases such as gonorrhea. Unlike most of the women interviewed by the Post, Nadine was able to make a second trip by motorbike to the Mahagi General Hospital. But there, too, she hit a wall. Oh. Jeanette Nakuma, a rape counselor at Mahagi, said the hospital had run out of PEP kits several times this year and was repurposing ARVs supplied by the National HIV Program to give rape victims. Nadine should have been able to get ARVs during her visit to the hospital, Nakuma said, but may have come when the pharmacy was closed or had been given bad information. When Nadine discovered she was HIV positive, her family mustered just enough money to purchase a round of ARVs from a local pharmacy, only to discover they were fake. Fake. The fear of ostracism has driven some survivors to seek dangerous abortions, Tumaini said. One woman tried to get rid of the baby and she died, she said, citing accounts from a nearby village. Another one came while she was bleeding, and we sent her to the Anglican hospital, and they saved her, but the baby died, she said. The Post could not independently confirm these accounts, but heard similar stories from other health aid and aid workers. It's like all the work we did before was thrown into the water, the nurse said. On a recent afternoon in a dimly lit hospital room in Bunia, the capital of Ituri, 26-year-old Antoinette sat trying to nurse her fussing baby to sleep. The colorful print wrap she wore around her thin frame was frayed, and worry lined her face, but her hand caressed the child's back steadily as she told her story. She was raped by militia fighters in February, she said quietly. She went to her local health center the next day, but there was no medication, and she couldn't afford the trip to a bigger hospital. When she developed symptoms of a sexually transmitted disease, she told her husband what had happened. He abandoned her and their 4 children. Later, she was diagnosed with syphilis and gonorrhea. A nurse wrote her a prescription, but the money she made washing clothes and digging crops wasn't enough to feed the children. The drugs she needs cost $22. So far, she said, she had saved about 50 cents. I'm all alone taking care of the kids, she said. If something happens to me, what will happen to them? Pediatric PEP kits, which mostly have similar drugs in different dosages, have always been in short supply in the Congo. After the cancellation of the IMA contract, which covered thousands of kits, pediatric kits, they were especially hard to find, healthcare workers said. At clinics in Bunia and Beni, a city in North Kivu, nurses said they had to tell families of child rape victims that there was nothing they could do but refer them elsewhere. At the Kuka Clinic in Beni, USAID stickers cling to almost every surface, from the ancient wooden cupboards to the dust-covered car battery powering the room's light bulb. 3 children ages 5, 6, and 10 were brought here after being raped in the last couple of months, according to nurse Alfred Bambiti Bikemu. Julia Kanugo Magozi works at the Tuungane Clinic near Beni Airport. Insurgents aligned with the Islamic State roam the countryside here, killing farmers and kidnapping children to use as soldiers and sex slaves. From February to April, she said, the clinic had no PEP kits of any kind. In that time, she said, they saw 7 rape victims, 3 of whom were children, brought in bleeding from injuries suffered during their attack, Magozi said. She and her colleagues make less than $2 a day, but they pooled their money so the families could afford the bone-shaking $5 motorbike ride to the town hospital. We try to do what little we can, she said. I know that was long, but it was it's so important. This is why, this is one of the reasons that the lies that this administration tells and the death that is happening concurrently to the lies that are being told, that's why I get so offended and triggered by chuds, is because chuds ignore these stories. They ignore the suffering and the harm that is being caused by the policies of this administration, period, full stop. Full stop. But God damn it. Sorry, I should read. You guys have been beautifully chatting. Labor just announced that they are the party of the business, not the worker. What? Wait, what? I'll stay and fight for the U.S., but it's hard sometimes. Yeah, people in the U.K. are disappointed in Labour and their governments. Many interesting combos on the topic. I would be interested to talk to more Brits about, the failures of Labour and I kind of feel similar to what the Democrats kind of underestimated the threat, right? I feel like they have underestimated the threat to democracy, to people's lives, because for some reason they didn't think that this administration would do what they said they would do, even though everybody kept telling people, no, they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And now here we are. So I think it's really interesting that we're wow. Okay. I want to play this video. I want to switch gears a little bit. Let me see what else I had here. Hold on. Hold on to your love. You got to hold on. Hold on to your love. Where's that? Where's that? Whoa, whoa, and don't let go. I want to maybe I'll do this.
And well-being.
Okay, wait. I know, because I watched you. Oh, I guess that's that. Okay, hold on just a minute. Okay, hold on just a minute. Okay, hold on just a minute. Yeah. All right. It's my favorite. I love this guy. Oops. Hey. Okay, it's my favorite guy, CoffeeZilla. And guess what he's talking about this time? He's talking about the Epstein dump from yesterday. And I watched a little bit of this last night. It's not very long. It's about 10 minutes. But he had some interesting observations about the new dump that I didn't see. So I'm always trying to, one thing I know about this Epstein dump is I need other people to pick out parts and do the analysis. So that we can understand what's happening here. But let's listen to this dude, and I will be back on the other side.
11,000 Jeffrey Epstein files that they hadn't publicly put out yet, but we got access to them. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to access them. Here's what that looks like. It's volume 8 of the files, but you can see right now that they've only released 7 data sets. And so myself, the guys at Jmail, and the guys at DropSite, we've been investigating this. I've partnered with them to kind of look at some of these files. And they got access to volume 8 early. You would just type it in the URL. It wasn't like indexable on search, but you could just type in the specific URL and it would just come up. You could download the entire zip file, and that's what we did. We've been looking through it. I want to go over some of it because I believe some of what we've seen directly contradicts the FBI's earlier statement that, there's no evidence, or we did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. That's what they told us, right? They said, we've already looked through the files. You don't need to see the files back in July. Of course, all the pressure has made them now start releasing some of this stuff. And we believe that this was slated for release, but remember, they weren't going to release all the files yet. They had to hold some back. Well, we believe that these 11,000 files are part of what they held back, because clearly they aren't out, and clearly they were ready, because a lot of these are redacted. I mean, already you can see we found several files that were, once again, over 100 pages of redacted information. So it was all ready to be released. It's unclear why it wasn't. But let me caveat before we get into the material that this is a breaking story, and as such, I'm sure there's going to be some pieces of information that we are interpreting or trying to interpret live, and because of that, I want to warn you to withhold your judgment on some of this stuff until we get more evidence. I'm sure the president's going to be asked about some of this stuff. I'm sure Todd Blanche, Pam Bondi, they're going to get asked about this because it is extremely damning, I think, what we see in some of this. Specifically, I want to draw your attention immediately to the 10 co-conspirators that are mentioned in some of these emails in 2019. Now, this is just alarming stuff, because prior to this, remember that all we really had was Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. That's the only people who have ever faced any charges at all. Ghislaine Maxwell, the only one who actually faced consequences, right? But in 2019, apparently there were 10 co-conspirators. Now, the people who were sending this to and from have been blacked out, but at the bottom we see that this is the violent crime section, crimes against human trafficking unit. And we can see that of the 10 co-conspirators, 3 have been located in Florida, served grand jury subpoenas, 1 in Boston, 1 in New York City, 1 in Connecticut were served. 4 out of the 10 are outstanding with attempts having been made. What is a wealthy businessman in Ohio? A lead is being sent to CV, and the remaining 3 are currently out of pocket. This is stunning stuff.
Wexner,
Previously,
how
we
you
did not know how
doing?
many co-conspirators were suspected of, or I'm not aware of anything like that. And additionally, some of the details on this are revealed later, because we see this subject line. It says co-conspirators at the top. And it says, blank does not need to head out. We made contact with blank last night in New York City. Blank last night in New York. Contact was made with blank, blank, and blank. By the way, I love how these potential co-conspirators are people who are being blacked out. Like, why? I thought the whole point of this was you couldn't redact people for personal information reasons or for public embarrassment. You could only redact on the basis of it being a victim. And I'm not sure how these people could possibly be victims here.
Epstein Files Transparency Act prohibits redactions, quote, on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity. Has anything been redacted on that basis?
Absolutely, positively not.
But anyways, you can see that it says attempts were made to blank and Brunel. That's Jean-Luc Brunel, the famous who's now dead. Blank is confirmed to live in New York, was away for the holiday weekend. We did not have a good address, but an attempt was made in New York. Attempts are made to Maxwell today. Blank, you get it. Like, it's all the people they suspected this whole time are redacted, of course. And then they say, I do not know about Ohio contacting Wexner. Now, that's a reference to Les Wexner, the former CEO of Victoria's Secret. This is huge. We've long suspected that he was, of course, one of the co-conspirators. And obviously, the fact the FBI suspected it isn't a 100% proof confirmation. But clearly, they were serving grand jury subpoenas. I mean, that must be who they're talking about, one wealthy businessman in Ohio, because later it's confirmed by this whole idea of Ohio contacting Wexner. And you can see at the bottom, this is from the FBI New York. When you get a chance, give me an update on the status of the 10 co-conspirators. This is really bad to know that we knew as early as 2019 the right people to target, and yet our FBI, who's had evidence of this the entire time, or leads on it, has declined to prosecute, right? Because this is what the FBI now...
Wait, who was president in 2019? Wait, I know. Wait, don't tell me. Don't tell me who was president. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I know. Don't tell me. Oh my God, it was Trump. You mean Trump's DOJ? Wait a minute. Trump's DOJ/FBI investigated. Okay, because wasn't the criticism of the Biden regime that they didn't do anything about Epstein and his co-conspirators, even if they knew about it? Well, what does this mean? What does this mean? Okay, what? What? Y'all, Trump hid the crimes of Epstein and his co-conspirators. Period. That's the sentence. That's the sentence. Trump hid the crimes. Don't talk about Biden. Those things were being adjudicated during Biden's time, and there's nothing that could be done about it. It was Maxwell. No, dumpy dump. This one's on you, bitch. This is on you, bitch. And you know what I think happened? I know that they've got things of him on the private plane and God knows what happened there. I think they don't have any necessarily whatever they don't have around him, Trump being on the Epstein Island and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Trump would have had sex with children or raped children on the island because he's at least aware enough to know that if he's going to rape a child, he should probably do it in his own property. So, oh no, I think Garland, Merrick Garland, I'd punch him in the throat if I saw Merrick Garland. I probably wouldn't, but I'd be tempted to. Because he fucked us over. The Biden administration fucked us over. Everybody fucked us over. So, there you go.
Now tells us, oh, don't bother. Don't worry about it. That's what they wanted us to believe in July. Fast forward to December, we find out there's 10 guys that they knew about since like 6 years ago. You know, it's insane. Even over here, we see that in one of the lawsuits, I believe this is with Maxwell, the government actually wanted to refer to people at trial as co-conspirators of the defendant, aka Maxwell, for the purposes of a rule. And then they say Jeffrey Epstein, and then there are 2 names listed there who are going to be listed as co-conspirators. Again, who are those people? We were told that the only co-conspirator now is Maxwell, and if you don't believe that, you're crazy, you're a conspiracy theorist. But back in 2020, this was an idea not just promulgated by wackos, it was promulgated by who? The FBI themselves, the Department of Justice. Look at this. Co-conspirator question transcript. This is from USA NYS. They say, question, when Jeffrey Epstein died, a lot of people asked, who's next? Is the government going to hold people who are accused of helping him recruit these girls? Are they going to hold them accountable? And then the answer is, well, I'll note that the original charges against Jeffrey Epstein contained a conspiracy charge, and we allege that there were conspirators involved. Jeffrey Epstein couldn't have done what he did without the assistance of others. And I can assure you that our investigation is moving forward, except I guess not. Against everyone except for Ghislaine Maxwell, it got killed. Like, Ghislaine Maxwell was the only one who faced justice, right? Except then she got moved to Club Fed, to this nice prison, right? And by the way, that a whole interesting interview we saw happen with Todd Blanche, which is Trump's former defense lawyer. So he got grilled on Meet the Press about his relationship. Like, why did Ghislaine Maxwell go to this nicer prison immediately afterwards? And while he declines to comment on it, he says something very interesting.
Why was she moved just days after you interviewed her, Mr. Blanche?
So that's a Bureau of Prison Security issue that I will not talk about.
Did you have anything to do with
it?
Did you have anything to do with it?
Let me finish. First of all, I am responsible for the Bureau of Prisons. So every decision that they make lands on my desk to the extent it needs to. But just let me talk about the security issue. At the time that I met Ms. Maxwell, there was a tremendous amount of scrutiny and publicity towards her, and the institution she was in, she was suffering numerous threats against her life. So the BOP is not only responsible for putting people in jail and making sure they stay in jail, but also for their safety.
All right, so he's like, yeah, that's crazy. No, I'm not going to talk about that, but every decision lands on my desk. I mean, eventually he goes on to say that, oh, she was in so much danger. We were worried about her safety as a prisoner. I just got to say, there's a lot of concern about Ghislaine Maxwell. All of a sudden, I don't know where that came from. There's not a lot of concern about these conspirators that I guess we've swept under the rug, that we don't care about anymore since 2019. I guess we knew about them and didn't care. And what's even more concerning is our president also seems concerned with the wrong people. Like, while Todd Blanche is concerned about Ghislaine Maxwell's safety and well-being, you've got Trump concerned about the people who are going to be unfairly implicated in the Jeffrey Epstein files, rather than worrying about how to catch the people that we obviously let go through the cracks.
The victims were protesting that too many of them were redacted.
I know there are a lot of people that are angry about all of the pictures of other people, you know, but I think it's terrible. Look, I like Bill Clinton. I've always gotten along with Bill Clinton. I've been nice to him. He's been nice to me. We've always gotten along. Respect him. I hate to see photos come out of him, but this is what the Democrats, mostly Democrats, and a couple of bad Republicans are asking for. So they're giving their photos of me, too. Everybody was friendly with this guy. I think it's a terrible thing. I think Bill Clinton's a big boy. He can handle it. But you probably have pictures being exposed of other people that innocently met Jeffrey Epstein years ago, many years ago.
Now, I'll be honest, he gets off track from here, but the point he was making is that those poor, innocent, bankers who were meeting with Epstein, the poor lawyers who were meeting with Epstein, like all of Epstein's friends are just caught up in this unfortunate thing. And it's just such a reversal of what previously the DOJ and FBI believed. In fact, they believed it so much that they got a federal search warrant for the SDNY, and they got it. And part of the seizable data, part of the stuff that they commanded them to seize as part of the search warrant, which, by the way, I think you need some kind of like standard of evidence for. I'm not a lawyer. You guys can chime in. But you can't just get a search warrant without some kind of evidence that you believe there's a crime that's been committed. And part of it says evidence concerning the identity or location of co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein, including blank and Ghislaine Maxwell. So again, who is blank? Well, they keep redacting the names of these co-conspirators, uncharged, remember, and now they're saying we have no evidence to charge anybody. Clearly, they had evidence for a search warrant, and it's just completely ridiculous that some of this stuff is redacted and that we're viewing the rich and powerful people who are mentioned as the victims here. Now, that's all I want to talk about for now. Remember, this is a developing story, so there's...
I'm gonna stop him there. You know how I love my CoffeeZilla. I just do. I think this guy's... I just love how succinct he is. And he actually does his research. Like, I don't expect him to be an expert on the fuckery within the administration. He's more of the crypto kind of guy that I go to. But he has... I am actually impressed with his presentation of the Epstein stuff. So anyway, thank you for indulging me on that. Yeah, Prince Andrew, here's your moment. Here's how you sell. Here's how you make money, baby. Okay? How you make money is we'll let you write a book if you completely say everything you know and throw everybody under the bus. Andy, that's what we need you to do right now. That's how you redeem yourself. That's how you redeem yourself, Andrew. And I'm not saying you redeem yourself. Forgive me. That's the wrong term. What you should do, it's the right thing to do. And what the hell? We'll let you write a book, whatever, because we know you're broke and you've been kicked out. Where's he living, by the way? I don't think people like that ever are really broke, so I don't really know how that works, but they all seem to live in a much better place than I do. Copper just hit an all-time high. It's an all-time high. Not holding my breath either, no. No, I'm not. I'm not holding my breath. Yeah, I'm not holding my breath. Okay, so good morning. All right. So here's the thing. For the rest of the week, let's see. What do I have scheduled? What is today? Tuesday? Okay, so tonight, documentary. And I do have a documentary chosen. I just can't remember what it is. How about that? Documentary at 5 p.m. Pacific tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. So on Discord, that'll be on my socials later on this morning. And then wait, what is today? Today's the 23rd. Tomorrow's the 24th, right? Okay. I don't know if I'm going to do a show tomorrow morning, but I probably will. I don't know. I probably will. And I definitely am doing a show tomorrow night. Okay. Christmas Eve. We are doing a solstice story time. And so you don't want to miss it because there will be a costume. Okay. So don't miss it. So tomorrow night, I know it's Christmas Eve and you actually may have families. I don't care. I'll be doing a live story time at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, just like the trolls, just like the lounge. I just like the troll. I don't know why I saw troll all of a sudden when you said royal. We will, just like the lounge, tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to do a little solstice Christmas story time live in costume. It'll be kid friendly. Not that I expect you to show this to your children, but in case there are children around, it will be kid friendly in terms of no smoking, no swearing, and that kind of stuff. We'll see if I'm successful. Bubbles are strong, yeah. Yeah. Oh boy, what a world, right? What a world. There's a lot. Oh, good, Lee, yay. Yeah, you want to make sure 2026 is right around the motherfucking corner, Teresa. I can't fucking believe it. I might crank it up in the lobby for people who don't have family. Oh, Oren, that would be beautiful. I would be so delighted. Yeah, it's going to be family friendly, I guess, if you want to say. But I'm going to tell. Well, I usually every year I do the night before Christmas, and I read that, and I have tapes of that. But this year I want to do it live, number one, and I want to also include other solstice stories. That's my phone. Other solstice stories. So it should be an hour plus of stories, and if you can't make it, my God, it's time with family. So I don't expect anyone to show up. If no one shows up, that's fine, but it'll be there. If you feel like playing some stories or you need something, I don't know what. I have no idea. In baby voice? No, not in a baby voice. I don't know. Maybe part of it will be in a baby voice. I have no idea. I don't know. You could. I don't know. 2026 is our year. Get out of here. 2026 is our year. Ooh, 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 ooh. Tiny hands. Definitely tiny hands. Wait, do I have anything? Oh, wait. And I need to get a little Santa hat. Oh, my God. Why don't I have a little Santa hat for Helen Mirren? Helen Mirren will be there. Helen, are you going to come to our Christmas solstice party? Hell yeah, I can't wait to go to your stupid little party. Helen Mirren is going to come. Yes, absolutely. I'll be there, Neil. Don't you worry about it. I'll see you later. I throw my head back in laughter. I love you, Helen Mirren. Helen Mirren. That's Helen Mirren. I'm not saying she's a dinosaur. That's not it. You got it wrong. You've got it completely wrong. You've got it completely wrong. Should we watch Die Hard? Oh. Actually, Carla, I've got to test that. But I think Bobo helped me fix. I had a problem on Saturday when I was trying to show the movie in Discord. But I think I've got that fixed. But nice reminder, because I got to test my thing. Okay. Anyways, thank you for spending so much time with me this morning. Oh my goodness. I'm so lucky to have friends. You gotta have friends. Ooh. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day and a great week, and that hopefully a lot of people aren't working so that you get a little bit of a break. Yes, let's start a drunk space and talk about hair and nails. Jen, I'm in. If you want to do that, I'm fucking in. Exactly. I like to imagine Helen Mirren has been around since Boba was a little one. I don't know if she's been around a while, actually. I don't know. We just named her Helen Mirren last year, I think. Right, Neil? Didn't we name her Helen Mirren last year? We were looking for a name. Maybe it was 2 years ago. I don't even remember. It's too long. Oh, my God. Oh, speaking of Bobo, wait a minute. There's a Bobo. Oh, it's no problem. I was just about to say goodbye. You want to say hello to all the people?
Hello, everybody.
There's a little Bobo for you.
There's a little Bobo for you.
Yeah. What time is it there?
It's 6:15 p.m.
6:15 p.m. Ooh. All right. Well, I'm about to sign off, so if you hold, please. Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
You take your time, girl.
Okay, darling. I love you. I'll talk to you in a minute. Oh, she loves you.
I love you guys.
Oh.
Have a good day.
Okay, boy. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
I love you. Boy. Oh my gosh, I love that kid so much. Happy holidays. Yeah, she's trying to find a good place to have dinner tomorrow. So she's looking for a good, like, traditional Hungarian place to have dinner. So I know, she's a sweetheart. She's just the best. She's the best human on the planet as far as I'm concerned. You had a movie poster up with Helen Mirren's name on it. If I typed Helen Mirren just as you picked up the puppet. Oh, that's it. Yes. We were talking about Excalibur, weren't we? Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Oh, you guys, Bobo loves you guys so much. She's home. She's homesick. And I want her to come home, but soon. February. So again, I hope I see you tonight on Discord to watch the documentary. I have a choice of 2 that GP had shared with me, so I'm grateful to him for that. So we'll have a documentary tonight. Tomorrow night, I might be live tomorrow morning. I think I might be, because we've got a lot to read. I have a ton of shit that I'd like to read to you. So if you're around, I'll be maybe live tomorrow morning, but I'll definitely be live tomorrow night. She was so good in Excalibur. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie. So tomorrow night, story time with Lolo. And then Christmas, I'm not sure if I'm going to do anything. I might actually do something on Christmas if there's people that, are around. Or I could replay the stories. But anyway, nonetheless, neither here nor there. And then we're going to have a special Boxing Day trivia on Friday. And we'll have definitely Wake and Bake on Friday too. And then blah, 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 blah. Okay. All right. We should watch Excalibur. Maybe that should be Saturday's movie. I'm going to check in with GP and see if last time Liam Neeson was kind of an okay guy. Wait, was Liam Neeson in that? Oh my God. Was he really? I don't even remember him in that. I'll be here alone. Yeah, I'm in Me Too, Meowing Star. So I don't know, I might open something up. I'm not sure. Or we'll watch, I'll throw some stuff up in Discord. Definitely, for sure. I'll probably have something going in Discord on Christmas. Just for anybody who drops in. No pressure whatsoever. It'll just be a drop in and hang out. All right. Okay. I love you guys so much. And you know what? You're never alone, because you've always got the lounge. You've always got the lounge. So, that's so sweet, Oren. You're the best. God, you guys make me feel so good. I just love you. You are my gift. You are my gift. He was Gawain? Oh, okay. Wow, he must have been super young. He must have been really young. All right, my loves. Have a good rest of your day. Hope to see you tonight. And then again, for the rest of the week. All right? That's right. Is there a trilogy I can play on Christmas? Oh, fuck yeah, I can find a trilogy. You know what we could do? The Corning trilogy or something. What is that? What is that? The guy, Shaun of the Dead is part of this trilogy. The Cornette trilogy or something like that. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm just like rambling at this point. All right. I will talk to you guys later. And I think you're amazing. And I think you're really special. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.
Good job, Pepper.